53%. Chapter 301 Beishan Raiders. If the other party didn't come, Wakai would have forgotten that he captured nearly Wanfang's family to do coolie in Jialiucheng, and the other party was also very minded and came to contact at this time. Wakai waited in the living room. The representative of the Fang family was an old man in his 60s. The old man never stopped smiling from the moment he entered the living room. Wakai was also puzzled when he saw it. What exactly is Fang's plan? People. The old man has seen the Wa Patriarch, and he didn't expect that the Wa family could build a barren Jialiu city into what it looks like in half a year. It's hard to believe. The old man opened his eyes and looked at Wakai admiringly. It's okay. The Fang family is here for the captives. Tell me about your conditions. Wakai looked at the other party and practiced the aura to complete the cultivation base. It stands to reason that if the other party really wants to redeem it at a small price when you go back to your own house, you should be sent to practice Qi Jing. Patriarch Hua, I apologize on behalf of our Fang family for what happened last year. My son was young and ignorant and contradicted Patriarch Hua. This time I was ordered by our Patriarch to negotiate with Patriarch Hua. I hope that Patriarch Hua will have a lot of, let our Fang Jia Ding go. The old man said with an apologetic face down. You don't just intend to take people away with just one mouth. You can come here if you are not convinced about this matter. If your patriarch only has this attitude, please come back. Thank you. Wakai finished get up and leave. The old man shouted for a long time and was kicked out by the family. Wakai felt a little ridiculous when he returned to the room. The family's arrogance is not what ordinary people can imagine. Let go. Do you have to send and apologize when you see you off? Since the other party has such an attitude, let him stay. Wakai found a special class householder in the Wa family and asked him to negotiate with the other party. If the other party doesn't talk well, he won't use it to report to him. Wakai did not receive Jia Ding's report for 2 consecutive days. Since the other party is not in a hurry, let their Jia Ding continue to work in Jialiucheng. Perhaps one day they will become the people of Jialiu City, and then that will be their own business. Half a month after the Jialiucheng business group left, the city is already under construction. Huakai inspected the 7 major departments and found that the 6 major families manage the entire Jialiucheng fairly well. The 6 major departments have people from the Chinese family and the 6th family, and many local managers use ordinary family members. This makes it difficult for the heads of the 6th family to seek favoritism. Everything is developing in a good direction. Huakai is watching the family attributes continue to ascension every day, and the recovery speed of family luck has reached more than 3,000 points. In addition to trial upgrades for family members every day, Huakai upgrades the horses and the rest of the family. For his luck, he is all forged into golden silk soft armor, which can be used by Azure Dragon Reserve Core first, and these Azure Dragon Core will become full members in the future. When a family member came to the main house, Wakai thought it was the Fang family's negotiation that had a result, but Jia Ding told Wakai that it was the Yan state-owned caravan who had arrived at the gate of Jialiu City and wanted to enter the city for a rest. Huakai didn't expect that there would be caravans going to the grassland from Baoyuguan this year. Presumably these caravans are used to walking from Baoyuguan in previous years. They are probably connected with Donghu country. These were not important to Huakai. Since how could he decline the guests when he arrived at his door, Huakai asked the soldiers of the Black Tortoise Regiment to let them in. Maybe they don't know that Jialiu City will have such a big change, maybe they don't know what the Chinese family has done in Jialiu County this year, but as long as they enter Jialiu City, they will have to slowly accept the fact from now on, Jialiu City. The county is the world of the Wa family, and Leopard Yuguan is now the Wa family's final say. I believe that until next year, these caravans will pass on the news of the Wa family to Yan State and beyond, and more caravans will choose to take the road of Leopard Yuguan, and the Wa family will be able to enjoy the benefits of this business road. The Fang family's messenger stayed in Jialiu City for 10 days. The other party kept saying that it was for the relationship between the 2 parties to release his family's people. He admitted that he was wrong, but when it came to compensation, Wakai estimated that the other party had a whole card. But in the end, the opponent didn't show his own whole card. By March 13th, the Azure Dragon Corps sent more than 20,000 members of the Takaliu merchant group through the Beishan area. They did not encounter any thieves when they passed Beishan. It seemed that all the thieves in this mountain had disappeared. Huakai stayed in Jialiu City until March 15th, combed the development plan of Jaliu City in the next year, and explained clearly the areas that need to be made up to his uncle, especially the establishment of the academy. Huakai asked his uncle to stare personally. When I came to Baoyuguan, the city wall of Baoyuguan was under construction. The wall is now more than 5 meters high, and a 12-meter wide city wall is rare in the entire border of the Central Plains. The construction of the military barracks in the Guanay area has begun. The entire military barracks are built into squares of 10 acres, separated by wooden fences. It is just right for 1,000 people to live in a camp. There are dormitories, canteens, training areas, stables, racetracks, and ring areas. The study area has everything. Huakai came here to train with everyone. Every morning, he goes to a brigade to train with everyone, and brings some people into the family secret realm space trial. At noon, when the opponent trains martial skill, equestrianism, and tactics, Huakai goes to the stable to upgrade the horses that can be upgraded. On this day, Huakai just finished the trial of a steed horse. Shui Pan came to him and said that the Vermilion Bird Regiment had started strangling wolves everywhere in the pass, and the North Mountain Bandits had disappeared in the past few days. Azure Dragon Corps. As the main combat power of the Hua family, how could it stand to stay in the Baoyuguan? Patriarch, I don't think we can wait for the Baishan bandits to come out like this. Not many prisoners of war in Jaliu City have been accepted by us. We can organize some trusted prisoners of war to Baishan. They are familiar with the terrain of Baishan. If we can occupy Baishan as a member of our family the base, then Donghu country is completely passive. We can attack and defend at the border, and we can really control this trade route in our own hands. Shui Pan had obviously done some investigations, and he was confident that even if he encountered the Azure Dragon army of the East Hu cavalry, he would be able to defeat it. Baishan is far from being as simple as you think. It is likely that most of it was converted from the East Hu cavalry. Our honest past will definitely be discovered by the other party, and we can't get the opportunity to be ambushed by the other party. Hua Kai shook his head. If Baishan is so well controlled, Donghu, Linhu, or even Daguo, Zhaoguo, and Yangguo don't want to occupy it. Patriarch, I have talked with many Baishan bandits. This Baishan mainly has 3 powers. Donghu occupies the largest one. Of course, there may also be forces belonging to Donghu country in other secret areas. Shui Pan began to introduce the situation in Baishan to Huakai. Baishan is actually a small country. This country is made up of more than 300 cottages. The large cottages have a population of tens of thousands and more than 1,000 troops. The small ones have only 100 people. Baishan also opened up fields, and everyone mainly lives on hunting and farming. Baishan is located in the northernmost area of the Dongling Mountains, like a long fried dough stick. The environment here is relatively cold because of the grasslands on both sides. The number of wild beasts is relatively small, and there are no demonic beasts or even high-level wild beasts here. Therefore, it has become a paradise for bandits and wolves. There are own rules for survival. If the Hua family wants to enter Baishan, or even make the entire Baishan part of Jaoyan County, they must first understand their rules. Baishan now has no more than 2 Shantian realms. You have a magic horse to fight in the mountains. The role is much greater than ordinary Shantians. If you can't, you can hide in the family secret realm space. Yuguan find more people who know saber technique, short soldiers, and hidden weapons. Don't let others know what you are going to do, and then bring all the Baishan bandits you have ordered to Leopard Yuguan. If they are really loyal, this time the mission to Baishan will be handed over to you. Hua Kai thought for a while and nodded in agreement. When Shui Pan entered Baishan, even if he could not occupy the entire Baishan in the end, he could still convey some news of Baishan and Donghu to the Hua family in Baishan. In the next few days, many soldiers in Baoyuguan and Jaliu City disappeared inexplicably, asking where they were going and saying that they had gone to perform a task sent by the Patriarch. In the Wahia Kuli camp, more than 1,000 people were taken away. These people were sent to a military camp at Baoyuguan. Shui Pan took hundreds of Azure Dragon Corps members every day and was doing ideological work for them. The family mission does not fail. They will be given the status of a free citizen in Jaliu City within 3 years, and they can bring their family members into the gate to life. This condition is very attractive to many thieves and bandits. They are not to be thieves to feed their stomachs. The life of the people of Jaliucheng is all in their eyes. If they can be accepted by Jaliucheng, even if it is worth risking your life. This morning, Hua Kai came to this barracks. Shui Pan knew that Hua Kai had arrived and came out with several Azure Dragon team leaders to greet him. How is the matter resolved? Hua Kai asked. The personnel preparations are almost the same. A total of 114 members of the Azure Dragon Corps, 619 other infantry members, and 1345 bandits. We already have a preliminary plan. Patriarch, you come in first. Shui Pan led Huakai into a conference hall. This is Luo Lin. He used to be the second head of the Yema village in Beishan. This time he took more than 400 cottage members and was captured by us. So many of us have Luo Lin's help. There is no problem in taking down the Yema village. Yema village is located in a valley on the northeast side of the mountain. It covers an area of about 300 acres and has more than 3,000 people. Shui Pan told Huakai about the situation of Yema village, but Huakai looked aside. Roland. Luo Lin's middle stage cultivation base seems to be only about 30 years old, and his loyalty value is 52. This is completely believed. It seems that he also has a story in this Yemazai. Hua Kai agreed to Shui Pan's suggestion. He checked all the members of the Hua family with a minimum loyalty of 73 points, which was not a problem at all. Let Shui Pan bring all the bandits, but these people opened Hua Kai's vision. 53%. Chapter 302 The Fang family's trumped card. Shui Pan took Hua Kai to the martial arts training ground. All the bandits stood upright in the fourth row, and Hua Kai walked past them. The strength of these bandits is mostly between the late stage of body tempering and the late stage of Kaiyuan. Some aerodynamics or boss-level characters. Huakai saw that many people here have loyalty points above 70. Shui Pan, he can focus on training in the future, and these can be taken care of a little bit. As for these, take them down and kill them. Hua Kai looked at the more than a dozen with flattering smiles on their faces, but the center is the bandits below -50, leaving them all a group of evils. When everyone in the Hua family heard what Hua Kai said, they didn't think much about it, and put all the people whom Hua Kai had ordered. At this time, all the bandits could not help showing fear in their eyes when they saw Hua Kai. The people Hua Kai killed just now were all used to doing evil things. When some bandits saw these people being killed, they couldn't help but admire Hua Kai. The loyalty value increased by a lot, and the fear in the eyes of one person was hard to dissipate. The loyalty value keeps declining, and they are afraid that Hua Kai will know what evil they have done. Hua Kai ordered more than 20 people and asked Jia Ding to take them down and kill them all. Some thieves didn't need to be merciful to them, and the apologetics had long since been converted to justice in Jialiu City. Let Shui Pan leave more than 100 people with a loyalty value of less than 10. These people are not guilty of sin, but they are just unwilling to show loyalty to the Hua family. Hua Kai asked them to stay in the Leopard Yuguan slave camp. Build a wall to make coolie. Shui Pan stayed at Leopard Jade Pass for another 3 days, and then led everyone out of the Leopard Jade Pass. They all wore the clothes worn by the North Mountain bandits. More than 200 riders and 1,600 infantrymen came out of the Leopard. Yuguan went west. Time passed unconsciously like this. Hua Kai's caring about Leopard Jade was all spent on Azure Dragon Corps. He upgraded all the horses that could be promoted, and for this reason the general mansion almost made him a stable. 216 new BMWs were born, which allowed the Azure Dragon Legion to finally have BMWs to ride. In the future, their mobility will be stronger and the advantages of the light cavalry will be more obvious. In addition, he gave instructions to all the soldiers in the Azure Dragon Corps who were in the bottleneck stage, and every day they rotated to perform the Zochin level splitting gun method, and many people achieved breakthroughs in martial skills. In June, there were more than 100 more members in the Azure Dragon Corps. The reserve group has exceeded 1,000 people to meet the requirements to enter the Azure Dragon Corps, but Hua Kai kept these people in the reserve group. If necessary, Azure Dragon Corps can be rotated. Hua Kai also left more than 2,800 pieces of golden soft armor for the Azure Dragon reserve team, and forged a 6th rank first-level weapon for the young Chi training captains in the reserve team. Most people still choose it. Silver gun. Because Hua used the silver gun has become the most popular weapon in Azure Dragon Corps. On this day, Hua Kai organized more than 300 people from Azure Dragon Corps and Azure Dragon Reserve Corps who were unable to break through in the bottleneck period, and planned to take them to Weisung to rest for a period of time. There is no war in Leopard Yuguan. He plans to use it in the future. This way of taking breaks brings people who need breakthroughs to Weisung, allowing them to calm down and dissolve their karma, and then use Wind Fire Futon to break through in the Heavenly Horse Arena. Give the medicine pill that should be distributed this month to Yu Jun. Hua Kai was about to take everyone away from Bao Yutian to Huacheng on this day. At this time, someone came to report that someone was looking for him. Hua Kai heard that Jiading said that the other party was bringing a few masters riding on BMWs. He asked Jiading to invite each other to the living room, but it was the old Fang family who came to Jialiu City last time. It's so hard to find the 7th-class family of the Hua family. Patriarch Hua is really hard to find. A middle-aged black man was a little surprised when he saw Hua Kai's appearance. The opponent is already a cultivation base in the Shantian realm. Haha, family master Hua, this is Jun Huo, but we couldn't find you in Jialiu City. We came to this leopard jade pass to find you. The old man of the Fang family still looked like him and smiled at Hua Kai. Yo, it was the monarch who came to visit. I don't know why the monarch came to my leopard jade pass. Hua Kai looked at the other side and asked. You are a little 7th-rank patriarch, but when I saw me, I didn't say anything. Is this looking down on Hua Kai? Huo's foundation building surname looked at Hua Kai and said lightly, as if he could speak with the 7th-rank family patriarch. It's a great honor for the other party. Haha, you came to Jialiu County to look for me, don't you know that I am the son of the Holy Sun? The status of the sun is equivalent to the foundation building realm great perfection. You even have a son to salute you. I am afraid that it is not because you have the chance to become holy. Hua Kai looked at the other party and didn't give in at all. The middle-aged Huo heard what Hua Kai said, and looked down at the Fang family's old man. The other party invited himself without investigating the details of the Xinghua family. It seems that it is not enough to use his identity to suppress the other party. In the past few days, I have a little discomfort and I can't show off to the sun. Please forgive me. Today, I am entrusted by the Fang family to resolve the grievances between the Hua family and the Fang family. The famous Ding was looted by the Hua family, and Shuo County and Jialiu County are adjacent to each other. I think Patriarch Hua should almost let go. Huo's surname was still called Shengji at the beginning of his middle age, and he became the head of the Hua Patriarch again within a few words. Although he is puzzled how a 7th-grade family can produce a saint child, he is still confident that the other party will give himself a face. After all, no family is unwilling to have a good relationship with a foundation building. Huo Jun is pleading for the Fang family, as long as the other party admits that they have missed these family members by mistake. It's just that this Fang family has spent more than half a year in the Hua family territory, and the daily cost is not a small amount. Does the Fang family have to pay the life fees of the 10,000 famous family members first? Hua Kai said in a release. Huo's surname foundation building heard this, and thought that Hua Kai looked soft on his face and wanted a little bit of life expense, and his face couldn't help but show a smile. Patriarch Hua, I don't know how much money do you think is appropriate? The elder of the Fang family knew the attitude of the Hua family. This time it was so easy to let go, which made him a little sudden, so he asked Hua Kai in a salute. We may have seen the environment in Jialiu City. When you arrive in Jialiu City, everyone from the Fang family lives in the inner city. Everyday meals are cooked in different ways. Just 1 gold coin a day. 1 gold coin a day, so many days is worth 200 gold. This period is also annoying to the Hua family. When all Fang Jia Ding returns to Shuakang, I will let someone send the gold coins. The old Fang family answered. No, I think you may have misunderstood. My 1 gold coin per day refers to 1 gold coin per person per day, totaling 2 million gold. When the Fang family collects the money, I will let them go. Hua Kai stood up and said. 2 million gold. Master Hua, I am afraid you are joking. How can a family member be worth 200 gold? Today, the Hua family does not plan to give me Huo this face, right? Huo, surnamed Foundation Building, heard Hua Kai said so, stood up and said indignantly. Huo Jun is aggressive as soon as he enters the door. Is this just talking about things? Since you want to help Fang's family, let Fang's family say by themselves, it's not that my Chinese family doesn't give Huo Jun face, so I can talk about it today. You have given your face. Hua Kai's face suddenly began to look bad when he saw Huo's surname in the foundation building, but there was no trace of fear on Hua Kai's face. You think I dare not kill you? Even if you are a holy son, you are still just a mortal without entering the foundation building realm. If I kill you today, how many people do you think will oppose me for a dead holy son? Huo, surnamed Foundation Building, looked at Hua Kai and said with a murderous expression. I don't think you dare to kill me, but I can be sure that you can't kill me. If you don't believe it, you can try. Hua Kai looked at the other party and said with a smile. Huo's surname in the Foundation Building realm looked at Hua Kai with a calm face. He was not fake at all. He was in the foundation building realm and could observe everyone's micro-expressions very carefully. At this time, there was a little drum in his heart. If he couldn't kill himself, death of each other, if a saint child grows up in the future, their entire Huo family will be affected. But for the Fang family, is it necessary for him to kill a saint son? When he got here, the foundation building of the Huo family had already retreated. He looked at the old man of the Fang family with his eyes asking for help completely. The foundation building was not a panacea. Killing a holy son brought him the possibility. It's not just karma, it's possible to have magical obstacles in your heart. In the end, Hua Kai still didn't talk about anything with the Fang family. The Fang family didn't mean to make a fair peace talk with the Hua family at all. Seeing the other party leaving the general's mansion, Hua Kai asked Yu Jun to give him a ride. That night, Hua Kai entered the family secret realm space. Tonight, the fifth uncle Hua Zichen was on duty. Hua Kai told him about the Fang family today. The Huo family, the veteran third-rank family of the Yan country, the current family owner is approaching the deadline. As the future first family leader candidate of the Huo family, Huo Qi is working hard to maintain the family relationship. Today, the other party retreats and will never again. It's a matter of our two families. I think the Fang family may not want these 10,000 celebrities anymore. Hua Zichen thought about it and said to Hua Kai. The Fang family suddenly lost 10,000 clan members, and the strength of this family will be reduced by more than 30%. As long as the other party has a chance, they will not give up. Hua Kai said. If you don't want to give up, you have to take out something. It's their last resort to get the Dongwu's foundation building. If they conflict with us, how can they not investigate our Chinese family and let them take it? Many families are unwilling to redeem tens of thousands of family members with valuable treasures. After all, family members can slowly replenish them. Hua Zichen said. Uncle Wu has returned from Qi State and brought back more than 200 students from Jixia Academy. This is also thanks to the new system in Lindsay City. Because the number of academies is too large in recent years, the families of the Qi Palace have discussed raising the fees of Jixia Academy, so that many people from small families cannot stay and can only apply for graduation quickly. The major families in Lindsay City are looking forward to the academy leaving as soon as possible to make room for the children of their own family to enter. After all, entering Jixia Academy is different from the past. There are few qualifications and you can enter if you have money. 53%. Chapter 303 Special Training Course. When Huakai returned to Weisung in mid-June, rows of pavilions had been built in the central area of Weisung. Because of the top of the mountain, the pavilions in Huacheng are only 3 stories at most. All pavilions are built around the central lake. Huakai saw the rivers leading from the central lake flowing through rows of beautiful wooden houses. The city brings countless poetry and picturesqueness. Bring all members of the Azure Dragon Legion to Heavenly Horse Field. Huakai told them that they could not walk around the top of the mountain without their own orders. He practiced martial arts and riding with 300 Azure Dragon Legion members every day, and wanted to rely on Heavenly Horse Field. Shenzhou District and the special ability of Breeder's Life Zone quickly weakened their physical karma. But the effect is surprisingly bad. Huakai also saw that the karma-heavy members became irritable every day, and in many cases it was difficult to calm down. Huakai couldn't help thinking about what method could be used to make these people quickly eliminate their own karma, even if it was just to make them feel just calm down. So he planned to write a soothing novel. Huakai, as a novelist, can know the power of the novel, because many things in the novel make the novelist talk about it and listen to it as if he is on the scene. The human mind of karma is easier to calm down. Huakai has to think carefully about what story he wants to tell. He has a lot of books on soul chicken soup. The most suitable for everyone to relieve stress is the 3 Wonderful Books. Among them, wisdom has been extolled by the people of future generations. Especially some of the golden sentences are all expounding the wisdom of life. In the end, Huakai decided to copy the Kai Gen Tan from the 3 Wonders first. The Kai Gen Tan has only 362 paragraphs, but the golden sentences are all based on the bottom of the society, which best expresses that they are in the Azure Dragon Core Soldier. The voice of the social level. Heavenly Horse Field is currently being expanded, and more than 3,000 people are busy on the Heavenly Horse Field pattern every day. Now the Heavenly Horse Field has been completed. Feeding area, breeding area, Shenzhou area, and training area have been completed for a half. That is, the breeder life area has just started to build a prototype, because Huakai designed the life zone in order to accommodate 10,000 people. It may take several years for various facilities to be completed. Huakai took more than 300 members of the Azure Dragon Corps to live in a newly built courtyard in Life District. He set a daily life plan for everyone. Compared with the time at Baoyuguan, only the learning time has changed. Long, at a meditation class every evening. Standing on the podium this afternoon, Huakai first talked about the relationship between society, country, family, and individual, and then clearly explained how to make a person's life more meaningful. This is actually a loyalty education class. After he finished speaking, he saw that many people were loyal to Ascension. Taking out the Kai Gen Tan that I recalled last night, his memory has reached a terrifying level since basic copywriting has reached a terrifying level, but even so, he only remembers more than 100 of the 362 Kai Gen Tan golden sentences. Meaning, he himself summarized some later generations of chicken soup articles, and finally made up 360 full texts of Kai Gen Tan. Even if there is a meritorious service, it must not be a word of remorse. If you are proud and complacent because of it, you must fall back. On the contrary, the prodigal son will not change his money, even if he has committed a heinous crime, as long as he can repent. Self-renewal, you can also rebehave. It's better to be jealous by the villain than to be pleased by the villain, rather to be blamed by the gentleman than to be tolerated by the gentleman. To be pleased by the villain is to be in the same way. It is better to be jealous and slandered by the villain. The gentleman blames us, it allows us to have the opportunity to improve and be tolerated by gentlemen, but how can we make progress? Every sentence Huakai said, these golden sentences can make everyone have different perceptions. Everyone listened quietly. Their eyes were all worshipping Huakai. The restlessness in many people's hearts was finally relieved at this moment. Huakai seeing that in just such a short while, there was an aerodynamic Zochin breakthrough. When Huakai uttered these golden sentences, he could feel that own mental energy was being tempered. With the blessing of basic copywriting skills, his life experience was slowly accumulating, and the 3 golden sentences were finished. Huakai saw that his willpower had improved a bit. Seeing Huakai stopped, everyone under the podium looked at him quietly, as if waiting for him to continue. Today's thoughts and perception class is here. Next, everyone will go to Shenzhou district to realize the harvest today. In the evening, everyone will have more exchanges. Some people feel that their karma is completely resolved, so they come to me and I will help you break through. Huakai left the classroom first and walked to Shenzhou district. He just saw that among the 300 people sitting there, more than 20 had a little bit of willpower just now, and the cultivation still needs to relax. With his own novel, everyone is here, and everyone's accumulation and understanding has been accelerated. When he arrived in the meditation room prepared by Huakai, Huakai took out the wind-fire futon and sat on the front. Others followed him and sat quietly on the ground. Here, the power of the will of heaven and earth is stronger than that of other places. I feel that many people can feel that they are so close to the power of the rules of heaven and earth at this moment. An hour later, Huakai opened his eyes. He looked back at the Azure Dragon Legion members who were still sitting still, with a satisfied smile at the corner of his mouth. Just now, a total of 4 people broke through one after another, and the Hua family had 4 more people in the Qi practice stage. More than 40 of the 300 people have already increased their willpower. A few of them have only been in such a few hours, and their willpower has been twice ascension. Point. The effect of this first lecture was surprisingly good. And Huakai also found that this has a great effect on his cultivation. He now has 56 points of willpower, which is extremely difficult for every leader. He possesses the basic copywriting skills mental method, telling these life insights, and his benefit is greater than anyone else. In just 7 days, 63 members of the 300 Azure Dragon Corps have completed the breakthrough, and all their willpower has increased by 1 to 3 points. All of them are now able to calm down, and their own karma has begun to affect them less and less. Huakai just let them ride horses and train on the racetrack for an hour every morning, so that they can keep up with their horses. At other times, they become completely scholars. Sometimes Huakai takes them to help build the heavenly horse field. Huakai could feel that their own karma was slowly weakening. On the first day of July, Huakai entered the family secret realm space in the evening. He talked to all the core members of the family about the breakthrough of the 3,000-member Azure Dragon Corps. Everyone was very happy after hearing this. The most important thing in the military's promotion is killing. In the later karma, Many soldiers ended up mad because of karma, and some people could not bear the influence of karma and directly chose to commit suicide. Huakai has a way to reduce or even eliminate karma, which has an unpredictable impact on the Hua family. After hearing that everyone has ascension in their willpower and center, everyone was silent for a while. I think you will stay in Weisung in the future. We can handle other things. Change a group of soldiers every month and you will give them lectures, so that the Azure Dragon Corp's loyalty to the Hua family will no longer have to worry about. If you encounter a lack of loyalty, we can put it in the reserve group first. As long as the soldiers are not affected by karma, the Azure Dragon Legion may have more than 1,000 people practicing Qi in a year. What a powerful force this is. Hua Zichen has been to the leopard Yuguan in the past few days, and he couldn't help but hear Hua Kai say so. Yes, if the number of our Azure Dragon Legion can reach 1,000 people, there are only a handful of people in the world that can stop us. Donghu is not our opponent at all. It can be fully opened, even if the three major countries of Yan, Zhao, and Qi dare not easily offend us. Hua Xing agreed upon hearing this. Now the Wahia's focus is all on the Azure Dragon Corps. There are only 3,000 horses and steeds in the Heavenly Horse Field. Most BMWs are sent to the Azure Dragon Corps. I feel that a part of the BMW and even the God Horse seeds must be left behind, so Heavenly Horse Field the number of good horses will only increase. Wufu Butler is worried about Heavenly Horse Field. With the continuous construction of Weisung Fortress, it has become more and more important. Everyone feels that Weisung Fortress should play its role as much as possible. Then let the Azure Dragon Corps quickly start the rotation system. We will build 3 more light cavalry squadrons. Now the reserve group is sufficient. Every month, the 3 squadrons will send a squadron to Huacheng for education. We can also divide the light cavalry reserve team. Part of it, so that if Weisung encounters danger, they can also protect it. Yu Jun said at this time. Everyone thinks this is a way. It is a pity that Huacheng does not use such resources. Huakai will naturally handle the issue of the loyalty and secrecy between the Azure Dragon Corps and the Reserve Corps. That's it, just settle it down. In the future, the Azure Dragon Corps will be expanded from 10 battalions to 11 squadrons, and 1 squadron will be sent to Weisung on the first day of every month. The reserve regiment rotates every 3 months, with 1,000 people at a time. When everyone comes, they bring their own horses, and those with horses on the breakthrough margin, stay in Heavenly Horse Field to give breakthroughs, and then we will allocate their temporary horses to use. Adult mares above the steed, try to stay in the Heavenly Horse Field. This year the Jaliu merchant group should have arrived in the Linhu grassland at this time. Hua Kai finally made the final decision. 20,000 slaves, 30,000 horses, more than 100,000 cattle and sheep. Wei took the head and Hua Peng left on April 13th. It should have been 2,000 miles by this time. I have not received much news here. Presumably the family business group will not. What are the problems? Shui Chen said at this time. This time the trade group did not have a core member to lead the team, and everyone was delayed to learn about the news of the trade group. This year is the first year that Wahia really opened the Baoyuguan trade road, and everyone attaches great importance to this. Shui Pan, you quietly send someone to check the situation of the business group. If an accident is passed back home as soon as possible, let the Azure Dragon group be prepared. If the business group is close to the Baishan area, go and join the family business group as soon as possible. Make sure don't have any accidents in the business group this year. Hua Kai exhorted. 54%. Chapter 304. After Shui Pan took over 1,000 people to occupy Yema village, he has developed his own power in Baishan. He conquered some neighboring small villages, and now slowly inserts his hands into the Baishan area. In order not to reveal his identity, Shui Pan usually only secretly helped the affiliated bandits capture other cottages. Now Yemazai has become the 4th largest force in the North Mountain. For conquering the entire Baishan area, Huakai knows that it cannot be impatient. The occupation of Baishan depends on more than strength. If the Hua family sends a large army to crusade, many bandits will inevitably flee south into the Dongling Mountains. They have known for all these years to deal with Linhu, Donghu's approach. In that way, the Chinese family's combat power would only be consumed in Baishan and unable to extricate themselves. Therefore, to occupy Baishan, it must be carried out according to Baishan's rules. After listening to the explanations of the responsible persons in various places, Yu Jun gave out a news that made everyone nervous. Yesterday, the Azure Dragon Corps was clearing the wolf pack outside the pass. It saw Donghu cavalry patrolling 200 miles away from Baoyu Pass, and there were about 500 people on the other side. It saw our soldiers retreating directly without stopping at all. Yu Jun watched. Huakai rode. Last year, we defeated the opponent's 5,000 cavalry. Now those Donghu cavalry are still doing coolies in Jialiucheng. Donghu will not let us off easily. Hua Zuan said with a frown. Confronting Donghu country head-on, the Hua family is still slightly weak. This time Donghu approached Leopard Yuguan but did not approach. It must have made sufficient preparations before attacking Jialiu County. Generally, the grassland tribes invaded the Central Plains after September. Donghu State is likely to launch an attack on Baoyuguan this year. Haha, come if you want to come. After September, the Leopard Jade Pass will be almost completed. Our Azure Dragon and White Tiger regiments, including the Reserve Regiment, are all here. They come to make them hit their heads. Broken blood, Hua Zichen said confidently when he heard this. Everyone in the Chinese family is eager to try. In the past year, the Azure Dragon Legion has had more than multiple ascension combat power. Everyone wants to see how powerful the Azure Dragon Legion is today. Still can't be careless. Send more people to inspect the periphery of Baoyuguan, Shui Pan, pay more attention to the situation in Beishan, maybe Donghu will pull the Beishan bandits as cannon fodder this time. Hua Kai said. Well, I know, I will try my best to hide our people during this time. If the three major forces of Beishan really want to attack Leopard Yuguan, then it will be our chance to win Beishan in one fell swoop. Shui Pan said. Afterwards, everyone discussed the affairs of Yichu Kingdom and the Ujumukan tribe. The riots in the Yichu Kingdom are now being slain by Qin Gorui soldiers. Many grassland tribes are unwilling to be driven away by the Qin state. They are still making their last insistence with the Yichu Kingdom family. The aristocratic family of Yichu Kingdom had lived on this land for thousands of years, occupying the advantages of geographical advantage and human harmony. Although they were not opponents of the Qin army, it would not be easy for Qin to completely drive them out. The Ujumqin tribe is very energetic this year. It was only half a year that the three tribes that did not listen to their orders had been conquered by them. Patriarch Ujumukan may not listen to your advice. Now we have handed over the trading rights to Princess Urantuya. Princess Urantuya has a lot of prestige in the Great Moon Kingdom. She is now sheltering. Some tribes of the Dayu clan elementary school are very dissatisfied with this Patriarch Ujumukan. The tribe already knows that the two of them are in disagreement. Zhuang said to Huakai. Did Urantuya say what help is needed? Hua Kai frowned and asked Zhuang. Princess Urantuya said that the Great Moon Kingdom will definitely launch an offensive against the Xiaoyu Kingdom this year. The grievances between the two countries have been long-standing, and Patriarch Ujumukan will not let go of this opportunity. Zhuang said. Everyone bowed their heads and said nothing. Now the time to attack Xiaoyu Kingdom is wrong, and Dayu Kingdom's doing so will only attract the attention and target of neighbors. Good weather this year is an important moment for the Central Plains and the grassland countries to seize the time to regain their strength. All countries in the Central Plains except Qin are quietly developing. Everyone is focusing on food reserves and domestic development is coming up. As allies of the Hua family and the Ujumqin tribe, at most they would give them corresponding reminders. As for the extent to which the final event will develop, even Sage could not fully predict. With the passage of time, the three cities in Jiaoyan County are developing rapidly. Huakai has seen the family prosperity value continue to increase every day, and the family luck value has increased at a rate of more than 4,000 every day. Huakai now controls the family luck value above 15,000. He has now equipped all members of the Azure Dragon Reserve Corps with Golden Silk Soft Armor, which enables the Azure Dragon Corps to reach all expansion goals. The Azure Dragon Reserve Corps has sent 1,000 people to station in Weisung. They live in the Heavenly Horse Field like the 300 Azure Dragon Corps soldiers. They are divided into 3 groups and Huakai will give them 1 hour of class every 3 days. More than 300 members of the Azure Dragon Corps came here mainly to reduce their karma, and the Reserve Regiment came mainly for the loyalty of Ascension. As long as Huakai teaches them once every 3 days, their loyalty and willpower have a slow ascension, and every day Huakai can see someone break through the Kaiyuan realm to achieve great consummation. By August, although the karma of more than 300 people in the Azure Dragon Corps had not been eliminated, they could no longer be affected by karma, and more than 80 people had broken through to practice aura, which made everyone cherish their current learning life. The breakthrough of another Zochin captain in the realm of Qi training spread instantly throughout the Heavenly Horse Field. On the second day, Hua Zichen passed the news to Azure Dragon Corps. Many people couldn't wait to go to Waesung next time. There can be an own name in the study list. At noon on this day, Wakai had just finished class for the preparatory team and had lunch with everyone in the dining hall. All the canteens in the school area provide a variety of meat and spiritual rice every day. Huakai selected a part of the team leaders from the preparation team to be the leaders. Everyone used the meal and training in a unified manner. Watching all the students queuing and leaving neatly after eating, Wakai felt that the school he organized was an advanced military academy. At this time, Xing walked in from outside the dining hall and sat next to Wakai. Wakai quickly finished eating the spiritual rice in the bowl. Now it has been accumulated with the spiritual rice of the Hua family. It has become the norm for the entire Wachang to eat spiritual rice. Wait until next year. More than 2,000 acres of spiritual rice were harvested. Soldiers and children in Waesung could eat spiritual rice every day. The checkpoints and the secret guard posts have all been completed. The houses in the central area have been completed halfway according to the drawings, and there is no problem with meeting 10,000 people. Tomorrow, will some workers be allocated to support Heavenly Horse Field? The business group will almost come back next month when a large number of horses and livestock will arrive. The Heavenly Horse Farm may not have enough space. Xing said while sitting beside Wakai. First finish all the canals. Heavenly Horse Field is almost enough now. The water canals are built on a flat-topped mountain to have more lush vegetation. If the Heavenly Horse Field can't accommodate, let's raise them outside. Ordinary horses. It doesn't make much sense to enter Heavenly Horse Field. Wakai replied. Xing nodded. The Hua family built Wachang on Pingdingshan in only 8 months. Although there is no need to build a city wall here, more than 10,000 people must be settled down so that Wachang can play its own role. It's not that simple. By the way, Grandpa, I have an idea. Wakai suddenly thought of something and said. Well, you say. Wakai said. Grandpa, did you enter the family secret realm space trial on horseback? Bringing a horse into it can be an ascension horse attribute. Wakai asked. Well, you didn't say that. We generally don't dare to experiment with family secret realm space. I only enter the space for trials at night. Are we going to try? Xing asked. Well, there are still many strong horses in Heavenly Horse Field that can be tried and promoted to steed, but I can only test 5 horses a day at most. I need to teach students at Heavenly Horse Field. If you can also ride into the secret realm space, give the horse a trial, then our horse level will definitely be able to quickly ascension a lot. Wakai said. The Wahia business group is coming back soon, and there will be more horses here in a month. Family secret realm space can perfectly cooperate with Heavenly Horse Field to make the Wahia war horse level fast ascension. Okay, when will you try? Grandpa Xing said without hesitation. Wakai took his grandfather to the own courtyard of the Heavenly Horse Farm, pulled out a strong horse from the stable, and told his grandpa to go to the physical training secret realm first. After all, it was the first time Grandpa brought a horse into the secret realm space. Physical training secret realm is the easiest. $@ at carat. Seeing his grandpa disappearing in front of him riding a horse, Wakai felt worried. After all, no one had done this before, and Wakai did not fully understand the family secret realm space. After waiting for more than 10 minutes, Wakai started to be unable to sit still. He was walking around outside the stable in an anxious manner. At this moment, a figure flashed by, and Grandpa appeared in front of him on a strong horse. Gasping hard on the ground, Wakai hurriedly checked the attributes of this horse, and his physique increased by 2 points. This shows that the core members of the family can upgrade the horses. Grandpa, it succeeded, Huakai said happily. The significance of this experiment is great. 11 members of the Hua family can upgrade the horses at once, so Huakai can do it completely. Let the family secret realm space 3. The big trial space does not stop, so at least you can try more than 300 strong horses every day, or more than 100 steeds, or 40 BMWs. One horse can complete all the trials in 3 days, and the Hua family can even take this time from all the horses brought back from the grassland were tried again. There is just a problem. Only Huakai can check horse attributes. If he wants family members to be responsible for horse trials, Huakai must mark all the horses early and which horses need what trials. But these are not difficult things. Wakai asked everyone to take out all the horses at Heavenly Horse. He painted 3 colors on the backs of all horses. Each color represents 3 different secret realm spaces that need to be entered. If this horse is tested when finished, draw another special symbol on them. It means that this horse has completed the trial, and there is no need to try it again in the future. 54%. Chapter 305 Wa Family Military Academy. All core members of the family can bring horses into the family secret realm space to upgrade, so that it becomes easy for Weisung Heavenly Horse Field to want the quality of Ascension horses. Many members of the Azure Dragon Corps have left some mares of Steed and BMW in the Heavenly Horse Farm. With the attributes of breeding area and feeding area, Wahia can produce a large number of high-quality horses in just 2 years. At the end of August, the first batch of more than 300 members of the Azure Dragon Corps studied in Weisung Heavenly Horse Field for more than a month, and finally it was time to leave. When they came, they trained more than 30 people in the Qi state. When they left, they were in the Shantian state. One person, the number of people practicing Qi Jing is more than 140, and the breakthrough rate is more than 30%. Huakai has paid hundreds of precious medicine pills for this, as well as a large amount of spiritual rice and meat. Seeing everyone standing reluctantly outside Heavenly Horse Field, Huakai feels that this study is good for them. The effect is immeasurable. Seeing the strength of the Wa family, I have been in close contact with Huakai, and spent a lot of resources to achieve a breakthrough. Maybe someone retired after many years and could not forget the more than 1 month spent in Wachung Heavenly Horse Field. Huakai bid farewell to everyone. Seeing that their loyalty points exceeded 90 points, and some of them had reached full loyalty points, they decided to build the School of Heavenly Horse Field into a formal military academy in the future, and he personally served as the principal. Let Wushu serve as the vice principal. As for the teacher, he will be selected from the Azure Dragon Corps. In the future, some of the Corps will be disabled and retired, and they will be able to return here as a teacher. More than 300 Azure Dragon Corps soldiers left on the third day, and the new Azure Dragon Corps learning team came. This time Huakai found that there were a lot of people who were in perfect aura training. They may all be the squadron leader. Hearing someone break through, the goal is to break through its own bottleneck. After discussing with the core members of the family, Huakai has decided to establish a formal military academy in the Heavenly Horse Field in Weisung. The military academy is still established in the life zone of the Heavenly Horse Field, except that a new independent gate is opened on the west side with multiple classrooms and dormitories. Shenju District set up a separate sitting room, set up a martial arts field in the training area, and go to the horse track to practice horsemanship. After making the decision, Hua Xing sent more than 1,000 slaves to build a new military academy. After discussing the name of the academy for a long time, they decided to use the Wahia Military Academy because no name could be more representative than this. The karma of this group of students is much smaller than that of the previous group. On the first day they arrived, one of the Qi training realm Dzogchen breakthrough came to Shantian, and the Hua family ushered in the 9th Shantian realm, which made many people excited after seeing this. Endlessly, everyone seemed to become extremely solemn when they listened to Huakai's lectures, and Huakai's orders were fully implemented, which Huakai did not expect. Seeing that members of the Azure Dragon Corps break through into Qi training every day, everyone's loyalty and willpower are steadily ascension, Huakai looked at the pill refining room and can refine a furnace of Xuanbing pill, so he chose directly refining. Pills became 4. Huakai gave 3 to 3 people to practice Qi realm great perfection. As a result, one of them broke through Shantian. One of the 2 without breakthrough also realized the will of Hanbing. Since then, Huakai has seen all the students' loyalty value ascension very quickly, and they study harder every day. This is what Huakai is most willing to see. In fact, what Huakai didn't know was that when he brought these people back from the grassland, it was tantamount to giving them a new life, and now there is a chance to grow, which one does not want to seize. The entire Azure Dragon army of Leopard Yuguan is for the quota this time. But it was too much trouble, and those who could be selected and sent were the best performers in each squadron. In just 3 days, the Azure Dragon Legion had 2 more Shantian realms and more than a dozen Qi practicing realms. This makes people who have not been promoted more serious. Every time Huakai lectures, everyone is very serious. In the meditation room, everyone seizes every second. Ascension's own understanding of the power of rules. I hope I have the opportunity to understand the power of rules. Unconsciously, the Hua family has reached 11 in the Shantian realm. While Huakai is delighted, it has also accelerated the pace of the construction of the Hua family military academy. On the 5th day when the students of the second phase came to Huacheng, Huakai brought all the students out of the meditation room. Today, one of the students realized the will of fire, which made everyone excited after seeing this. The meditation room is useful, especially after Huakai personally teaches the philosophy of life. Hua Kai saw that Hua Fu came to Heavenly Horse Field anxiously to find himself, and guessed that it might be related to Dong Hu Guo. Patriarch. Just now Shui Pan was transmitting in the family secret realm space and said that Dong Hu State had acted. Please go to the family space as soon as possible. Wu Fu Butler came to Hua Kai and said softly. Hua Kai left Shenzhou district and returned to its own courtyard, disappeared in the same place in a blink of an eye, and entered the family secret realm space. Patriarch. Shui Pan said when he saw Hua Kai. Hua Kai saw the second uncle, third uncle, fourth uncle, fifth uncle, grandpa, etc. all in the space. What's the news about Donghu? Hua Kai asked. Today, people from Tulong village said it was news from Donghu country. I would like to ask all the cottages in Beishan to cooperate with them in attacking our leopard Yuguan. Shui Pan said. The Beishan bandits have suffered at the leopard Yuguan pass. Will they attack leopard Yutian with the Donghu army? Hua Zili asked. East Hu State asked the cottages to take action, just to let the North Mountain bandits do cannon fodder. The cottages in the North Mountain will not be clear. Since they dare to bring the words to the Yemazai, there must be a reason why everyone can't refuse. Hua Xing began. Road. The old lady is right. The other party promised to wait until the leopard jade pass is broken, and all gains will be equally divided with the cottages in Beishan. Shui Pan said. I'm afraid this temptation can't convince the cottages in Beishan. What else? Yu Jun asked. Donghu State propagates in the Beishan area. This time they will organize 50,000 elite cavalry and 70,000 slaves to take the leopard Yuguan in one fell swoop. According to the people of Tulongzai, Donghu State will dispatch 6 Shantian troops this time. That's why many cottages start to be excited. Shui Pandao. Indeed, if Donghu country is willing to dispatch 6 Shantians and more than 100,000 troops to attack leopard Yuguan, in the eyes of the cottages in Beishan, leopard Yuguan will definitely be taken down, so that they will be able to make a profit even if they follow behind and drink some soup. It's huge. You must know that the income from each breakthrough leopard jade pass is far from robbing some caravans. As long as you pass through leopard jade pass once and taste the benefits once, many cottages will never be forgotten. If this is the case, there may be many cottages who are willing to pawn Donghu Guo. Hua Kai nodded and sighed slightly. More than that, Tulongzai let us watch a powerful performance in 3 days. Our caravan Haodian will go to Beishan. This Donghu country is probably going to deal with our merchant group. Shui Pandao. Everyone can't help but feel heavy on hearing this. After all, Donghu country is one of the large grassland countries, with a population of millions of elites exceeding 200,000. Last year, the Hua family defeated 5,000 Donghu cavalry and captured nearly 4,000 of them. It is impossible for them to ignore the Hua family, or would they be underestimated by the prairie people? Donghu wanted to show the Hua family with the lion fighting the rabbit this time. The main role of bringing the North Mountain bandits was to show his power. I don't think Donghu will send a large amount of troops to the vicinity of Beishan. At this moment, Shui Chen, who was silent on the side, suddenly spoke. Oh, what basis do you have? Hua Kai motioned to Shui Chen to continue. I have 3 reasons. The drought on the grassland has not yet completely gone out. When the grassland horses are fattening and preparing for the winter in September, they usually let too many horses leave the grassland before the end of September, so the horses may lose weight in winter. Second, since Donghu country is to show his power to the North Mountain bandits, he will not bring too many people over, otherwise, how could the North Mountain bandits not defend Donghu country? How will you watch this show then? As for the last point, our caravan has a total of more than 20,000 people. This time the number of slaves brought is more than 50,000. They brought more than 100,000 cattle and sheep back from the Ordos tribe step by step. So many people are in Donghu country. It only takes 10,000 cavalry at most to sweep it easily, so I think the opponent's number will not exceed 20,000 horses at most. Shui Chen looked at Hua Kai after speaking. Everyone nodded softly when they heard Shui Chen's explanation. As Shui Chen gets older, he develops the characteristics of his superior intelligence. The family often asks for his opinion. Yes, the Hua family is not worthy of the Donghu country's too many elites. Haodian, our business group is on the west side of Beishan. The business group must not be lost. It is time for the Azure Dragon Corps to play. Hua Kai looked at Wushu uncle. Hua Zichin, he is the commander of Azure Dragon Corps. As long as his Donghu cavalry arrives, I will let them see the strength of Azure Dragon Legion. Hua Zichin said confidently. Don't be careless. Although there are 6 people in the Shantian state of the Azure Dragon Legion, most of them are only junior strength. If the East Hu cavalry really dispatches 6 Shantian men, this battle may not be easy to fight. Tomorrow I will bring all the members of the Azure Dragon Legion back. Leopard Jade Pass. By then, with Huapeng and me, we will have an absolute advantage in terms of high-end combat power. Hua Kai said so. Everyone knows that he is not willing to lose too much to the Azure Dragon Legion. As long as Hua Kai and Hua Zichen take the shot together, this time Hua Kai can be said to be doing its best. In a confrontation, the Hua family had to use all their strength. Now that the decision was made, the Hua family quickly became busy. Shui Pan had sent people to meet with Wei Beitu and Hua Peng overnight to tell them the information that the Hua family could grasp. At the same time, he also brought Hua Kai's order to the 2 of them to go home early as planned. Hearing Hua Kai's words, Wei Beitu and Hua Peng already knew that the battle between the Hua family and the East Hu country was about to start again. This time the Hua family was different from before. He already had the ability to take the initiative. This expansion of Azure, the strength of Dragon Legion ascension is dozens of times. It is time for Donghu people to know the strength of Azure Dragon Legion. 54%. Chapter 306 Azure Dragon Legion 1. On September 6th, it was the harvest season of the year. Tens of thousands of cattle and sheep under Pingding Mountain are eating grass on the grassland. Now is the time for them to accumulate energy at the end of the year. When winter comes, the grassland is covered with snow, and there will be no rich grass for them to eat. Huakai took 300 Azure Dragon Corps members and 1,000 Azure Dragon Reserve Corps out of Weisung. After 3 rigorous checks, they arrived at the foot of Pingding Mountain. The Hua family is very strict with people leaving Huachang. Even if Hua Kai personally leads the team, they must check everyone's situation clearly. Grandpa, you can go back. Take care of Weisung City. Before this winter, all bridges must be built. Shu Hua's place is busy these days. More than 2,000 acres of sacred fields have to be planted with spiritual rice, too. It's not easy. If he needs to send him as much as possible. Also, the military academy of Heavenly Horse Field and Heavenly Horse Field cannot be pulled down. Hua Kai came to the mountain and looked at his grandfather. K, do you really need Grandpa to go? We can send 500 elites in Huachang. Hua Xing looked at Hua Kai and asked with some worry. Our Azure Dragon Legion, Grandpa, you know, I believe there are not many legions that can compete with it, let alone a little Donghu, ha ha. This Donghu country can only be regarded as a small stumbling block for us today. We have Leopard Yuguan as a defense, and there are tens of thousands of elites. Shantian has 10 combat strengths. Even if Donghu Wang personally leads the team, we are not afraid. Hua Kai comforted his grandfather. In the heart of grandfather's heart, the country of Hu in the Middle East can wrestle with the country of Yan and Qi. The population of the Chinese family is dozens of times different from the other country. It is possible to survive the crisis through strength. If you say so, then I won't insist anymore. We will take turns waiting for your news in the space. In case of any danger, we must enter the space for the first time to escape. Hua Xing saw that Hua Kai really didn't want him's help. He asked. Leaving Huachang, Hua Kai ran all the way with the Azure Dragon Army officers. The lowest level of their crotch was a steed. They were more than 200 miles away from the Leopard Jade Pass. They arrived at noon. The Leopard Jade Pass has also entered a state of war. All the reserve soldiers have worn their armors, and the slave soldiers have also taken up weapons and carried supplies to the city walls in the pass. On the mountains on both sides of the northern city wall of Leopard Yuguan, there are soldiers on 2 high observation towers looking into the distance. In the arrow tower on the city wall, the marksman has prepared ordinary arrows and special arrows. The battle preparation of Leopard Yuguan is better than Huakai imagined. It would be much faster. Coming to the school, the 5th uncle Hua Zichen was taking the Azure Dragon Legion to make the final preparations. Hua Kai watched the Azure Dragon Legion wearing exquisite leather armor. With BMW, the top 3 captains of the team are all magical horses. This power makes no one surprised. K, there is news from Shui Pan that the forefront of the Jialiu merchant group has now reached the west of Beishan. We should set off now. We will let the whole team pass through Beishan tomorrow morning. The Donghu cavalry probably wants to go east of Beishan. Kill our business group, Hua Zichen said. The east of Beishan belongs to the country of Donghu, and the west of Beishan belongs to the country of Linhu. If Donghu wants to rob the Jialiu business group, of course it must choose to be in its own territory, otherwise it will cause friction with Linhu. You give Shui Pan a message. Let the business group pass Beishan today, and then the Donghu country wants people to watch the show. We will put on a good show with the Donghu cavalry. Azure Dragon Corps, let's go. Huakai and Azure Dragon Corps went out of Leopard Jade Pass, and all the White Tiger Corps defenders on the wall went up to the city wall to see them off. Each legion has its own mission. The mission of the White Tiger Legion is to guard the Leopard Jade Pass and prevent the enemy from stepping into it. The mission of the Vermilion Bird Corps is to ensure the stability of the entire Tokaryu County within the pass, and the responsibility of the Black Tortoise Corps is to protect the safety of Tokaryu City, an important city in Takayanagi County. Then the Azure Dragon Corps occupies the best equipment, weapons and horses of the Chinese family. Their duty is to defeat all the enemies of Jaoyan County and win the stable development of the entire Jaoyan County. The Azure Dragon army of more than 3,000 people left the Leopard Jade Pass. Hua Zichen sent 3 squadrons of scout cavalry out hundreds of miles away, looking for the enemy's traces. The rest of the Azure Dragon Corps members moved quickly westward. They are all strong above the aerodynamic level. They can use true chi to speed up the durability and pace of the horses. In the evening, the scout cavalry sent a message, and the Donghu cavalry was found 200 miles northeast of Beishan. Of the trail, the East Hu cavalry had a total of 20,000 horses, and they looked like they were all Donghu elites. They were afraid of coming close to meet the opponent's elite chasing, so they didn't dare to get too close. This is similar to what the Hua family expected. The other party intends to eliminate the Jaliu merchant group on the northeast side. This is for the North Mountain Bandits, the Hua family of Jaliu County, and Donghu's own confidence. A piece of grass will always be the world of Donghu country. Knowing the whereabouts of the East Hu cavalry, Huakai was relieved. They came to the northeast side and saw countless cattle and sheep slowly coming out of Beishan under the drive of slaves and members of the Hua family. When they left the Beishan area, they were docking at the foot of the mountain, waiting. The adoption of subsequent members. The Azure Dragon Corps stopped 5 miles away from the Wahia Business Corps. Everyone waited quietly after dismounting. Seeing more and more people, horses, cattle and sheep, and motorcades appearing on the northeast side of the mountain, everyone knows that a huge test is far away from you. As they get closer and closer, they will guard the companions behind them to go home, and perhaps many people will die on the grass under their feet in the process. When it gets dark, more and more people come from the west of Beishan. Tents have been set up within 10 miles of the northeast side. The merchant group put all their carriages outside the tents and organized a large number of soldiers and slaves there, patrol. Everyone knows that tonight is the last piece. Tomorrow they will experience an unforgettable war. Maybe they will have a battle with Donghu Shengwan cavalry. Hua Kai saw some Hua Jia Ding in the distance seeing him and greeted him happily. Shui Pan and Hua Peng rode up to the Azure Dragon Corps lineup and came to Hua Kai to salute him. Even if everyone in the Azure Dragon Legion is all in place today, tomorrow will be the most important battle of our Azure Dragon Legion. It is up to us whether Jaliu Jun stays at Donghu's feet or can fight with them for a long time. Everyone, 10 miles westbound, don't disturb the business group arrangement. Hua Kai saw that the business group had passed through Beishan overnight, and they were also desperate. If they fight with Donghu country tomorrow, they will live or die, and no one will retreat from Beishan and choose to escape. When night came, the foothills on the northeast side of the mountain began to turn red, and piles of bonfires rose in the middle of the tents. Huakai looked from a long distance. This time the business group came back from the grassland. There were at least 50,000 people, except for Hua Home. Every family and family in Jaliu City also brought a large number of slaves, as well as countless cattle, sheep and horses. The Azure Dragon Corps does not bring tents. They are all above the aerodynamic environment and can rest by lying next to their horses at night. Hua Kai saw a group of torches coming from the direction of the business group's residence, and he asked Tang Lei to lead people to greet him. Wei Hong brought more than 200 people to the camp with more than 100 roasted whole lambs, and Tang Lei led soldiers to take the roasted whole lambs and let them be assigned to various brigades. Why, the business group is settled. Hua Kai looked at Wei and asked, turning his head. There are more than 50,000 people, and the number of horses, cattle and sheep is close to 200,000. Except for the migration of large tribes, there will not be such a grand scene on the grassland. We started to cross Beishan at noon, and only 30,000 people have come here. It is estimated that we will wait. Everyone, come over until tomorrow morning. Wei said, turning his head. How could Huakai, the hardworking businessman, not know that this time he brought so many cattle and sheep and drove them back to Jaliu County from the Ordos tribe? Many young lambs have grown up. I don't know how many cattle and sheep were born on the road. They struggled for 6 months, could only walk more than 20 miles a day, and only a little bit sent these animals back. Tomorrow morning, let all of us take a good look. This battle will be our most critical one. Let's see how our Takayanagi Gunjiro resists the Donghu bandits. Wakai said in a deep voice. East Hu State fought against Jaliu County, and set his sights on the Jaliu merchant group. It was not a thief. I see. Tomorrow I will definitely prevent all family members, slaves, and other caravans from watching my Hua Jia Erlang's performance together. Wei said seriously, turning his head. When the afterglow of the next morning shone on the vast grassland, a team of cavalry slowly appeared in the northeast of Beishan. These cavalry were wearing thick leather armor and the horses under the crotch. Their goal was the huge merchant at the foot of the distant mountain. The regiment, but before they can eat this piece of fat, they must deal with the small cavalry regiment in front of them. Hua Kai and Hua Zichen stood on horseback at the forefront of the Azure Dragon Legion. Everyone quietly stared at the 20,000 Donghu cavalrymen who were approaching each other. They looked at each other's 6 times their own cavalry. They didn't have the slightest fear in their hearts. Some just the excitement about the coming battle. The East Hu cavalry came to the north side of Azure Dragon Corps 1,000 meters away, and began to line up slowly. They also knew that the 3,000 elite cavalry in front of them were their greatest enemy this time. Not far from the caravan, all the members of the Takaliu group watched outside the caravan. They all watched this first stage moment. Starting today, this grassland may have to change its owner. Seeing that the other party had begun to organize the charge, the cavalry they organized to charge the usual front arrow array, put all the masters in the position of the arrow. It seemed that they wanted to use the 20,000 cavalry to directly rush the Azure Dragon Legion. The Azure Dragon Legion was originally just light cavalry, not suitable for frontal tough battles. But looking at the longing eyes of everyone around him, Wakai knew that the Azure Dragon Legion wanted a glorious victory today. He raised his hand silver spear high, and everyone was quietly waiting for his command. Azure Dragon Legion, Wakai shouted, arrive. The loud voices of 3,000 people shook the world, and the Takaliu merchant group in the distance couldn't help but be excited. Follow me. Charge. Wakai held up silver spear, which indicated the command to fight the charge with all strength. All Azure Dragon Legion members heard this and followed Wakai's footsteps to kill the East Hu cavalry. 54%. Chapter 307 Azure Dragon Legion 2. Wakai saw that the 3 generals at the front of the opponent were all in the Shantian realm, and there were 8 in the Shantian realm of the Azure Dragon Legion behind him. He told the Wushu, Tang Lei, Shui Pan and others around him that there were 3 Shantians in the front of the opponent, and everyone had already chosen their own opponent. The members of the Jaliu merchant group in the distance looked at the Azure Dragon Legion that launched a charge in the distance, and their hearts suddenly touched their throats. The Azure Dragon Legion looked much weaker than the Donghu cavalry. Maybe it really only needs 1 charge. Azure Dragon Legion will be overwhelmed by Donghu country. There was a neigh of horses in the distance. The 2 armies had no extra action and fought together directly. The Azure Dragon army rushed into the Donghu cavalry array. Soon the shadow of the Azure Dragon army could not be seen from the outside, and many people saw it here. The heart could not help but grabbed. Wakai spotted the military commander who was rushing forward, but when he was only 100 meters away from the opponent, Wushu Wazichen suddenly jumped up and killed the opponent directly. Tianlongju was faster than Black Eagle. Wakai could only deal with another enemy Shantian realm. Tang Lei rode a sweat-blooded BMW directly to another Shantian realm. When the 2 sides were about to collide, Wakai injected true chi into the body of Black Eagle with all his strength. Black Eagle let out a scream. Wakai used the force of charged silver spear to kill each other. Wakai only felt a strong force coming. His body was almost knocked down Black Eagle, and the opponent's Shantian generals were directly knocked back several meters. Wakai took advantage of the short-term advantage and quickly shot the opponent's chest. Before the opponent had time to react when he lost a blow, he could only condense true chi to resist. Wakai's long spear thrust hit the opponent's chest and pierced his leather armor for more than an inch. At this time, his comrades behind him had already come up. The charge is about a charge. Wakai's 2 moves seriously injured the opponent, and it was too late to end the opponent's life. While urging his true chi to relieve the shock damage of his body, he continued to inject true chi into the body of Black Eagle and let it continue to charge forward. At this time, Wazichen was also the opponent's military commander who was retreating. The Azure Dragon Legion had already completely gained the upper hand after initial contact. Tang Lei also pressed the opponent for a fierce attack. After sinking into their own back, the 3 brigade members all shouted and continued to charge when they saw it. Regardless of the Shantian general of the opponent, Wakai urged Black Eagle to move on, and saw a Qi training realm quickly approach him, 3 shots to solve the opponent's life. The other party also saw that Huakai was in the Shantian realm and had already made his breakthrough. Soon there would be late-stage masters in the Aura realm besieging Huakai. Hua Zichen also severely injured the opponent's main general. He knew that the pace of the charge was the most important to alleviate the casualties of the Azure Dragon Legion, so he no longer controlled the opponent's main general and followed Hua Kai to the opponent's battle. Although Hua Kai was besieged by a number of masters in the aura, he was able to do so. There were more than 5 masters in the aura in the place where he fell under his gun in less than a minute. He looked back and saw Wushu and other Azure Dragon Legion masters. Following behind him, he was relieved to continue to kill. In just 2 minutes, Huakai felt that the opponent in front of him was getting weaker and weaker. In the end, it was only the Kaiyuan realm and the body tempering realm late stage. When he encountered the obstacle, he shot out and solved it, slowing down and waiting for Azure. The Dragon Legion members all followed, and soon he saw that he had broken through the opponent's back line. Looking at the inferior Azure Dragon Corps, the Takaliu merchants actually pushed the entire Donghu cavalry team to retreat quickly. The Azure Dragon Corps cut the opposing lineup in half like a sharp blade. Everyone in the Takaliu merchants was excited to see this place. Yelled. They saw that their own side had the upper hand, and soon the Azure Dragon Legion interspersed through the opponent's formation. The 2 sides slowly separated from the battle, and then separated, and stopped after a distance of about 500 meters. The Azure Dragon Legion and the East Hu cavalry stood opposite each other. Hua Kai saw that there was only one Shantian realm left in the opposing lineup. A wound on Tang Lei's arm was deep in bone, and his armor was stained with blood. Once on the horse, there is no retreat at all. The cavalry fights, as long as they are not dead, they must continue to fight. Hua Kai looked behind him. All the captains and key personnel were there. A smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. When the Azure Dragon army reorganized the formation behind him, the blood from the wound had stopped after Tang Lei took rejuvenation pill and Hua Kai stood at the forefront of the Azure Dragon Legion. Together they raised the silver gun in their hands. Azure Dragon Legion, charge! Hua Kai shouted loudly. Kill! All Azure Dragon Legion members replied. The Azure Dragon Legion continued to attack the enemy. The Azure Dragon Legion soldiers in front of them were being besieged by some fallen Donghu cavalry. They were surrounded by dead bodies, and some horses were running around on the grassland, looking for them. To his master. The Azure Dragon army charged to the center battlefield. Some Donghu cavalry who had lost their horses quickly turned and fled. Huakai made a way for the teammates who had fallen off their horses and rushed towards the enemy. Just now, the Azure Dragon Corps completely broke up the Donghu cavalry's array, and now they have lost 2 Shantian realms. When the Azure Dragon Corps organizes a second assault, their queue has just been sorted out. Before everyone can catch their breath, Donghu cavalry continue to rush towards the Azure Dragon Legion. The cavalry fights, if they don't rush, they won't play much role at all. They panicked and organized the charging formation. At this time, the Azure Dragon Legion was only 100 meters away from them, and they had no time to rush into the back formation. The Azure Dragon Legion was like a sledgehammer, crashing into their queue, turned the entire Donghu cavalry array over the people who had hit them. When Hua Kai saw the opponent's last Shantian face, he was shot by Shui Pan and then killed by Uncle Wu. He didn't care about this and went to the opponent's battle with all his strength. This time the opponent's array was obviously much looser than last time, and he didn't have much effort to penetrate the opponent's array again soon. Rushing out of the Donghu cavalry, Hua Kai saw everyone from the Jaliu merchant group shouting at him in the formation. He steadied his body and turned his horse's head around, waiting for everyone behind him to line up again. These 2 assaults caused at least 3,000 casualties to the opponent. The Azure Dragon Corps casualties are still unknown to Hua Kai. Now the opponent has no Shantian realm to sit in, and the balance of battle victory has been completely moved to the Azure Dragon Corps side. See Donghu cavalry did not react from the chaos. Hua Kai continued to lead the Azure Dragon army to charge the opponent. The third charge became even simpler. Huakai saw that the opponent's cavalry fell one after another under the momentum of the Azure Dragon army's charge. He knew that the battle had been won. It just depends on how long the opponent's fighting will can last. The cavalry in formation is a lamb to be slaughtered. The Azure Dragon Legion finished the fourth assault, and the entire Donghu cavalry had been rushed into a mess. They watched their comrades being charged away by Azure Dragon Legion, but they had nothing to do with them. Finally, when Hua Kai raised his spear for the fifth time, the Donghu cavalry finally couldn't hold it back. And Donghu cavalry saw the Azure Dragon army rushing again. He rode a horse and fled towards the northeast home despite the shouts of the captain. This cavalry seemed to be the fuse of the East Hu cavalry's defeat. When the Azure Dragon army once again entered the East Hu cavalry queue, some cavalry finally began to retreat. Regardless of the teammates who were still struggling to stop the Azure Dragon army from charging, they fled backwards. Hua Kai once again rushed through the opposing 10,000 cavalry lineup, while waiting for the Azure Dragon Legion to reorganize the charge formation, while watching more and more people in the enemy's array flee to all directions. By the time the sixth charge began, Hua Kai saw that the entire Donghu cavalry had begun to flee. The feeling of being unable to organize an effective resistance and only seeing the teammates around him being taken away was really uncomfortable. No one knows if he is the next one to die. Watching the Azure Dragon army rush towards him, some Donghu cavalry and even the entire 100 people began to flee, and the entire Donghu cavalry was completely chaotic. Before the Azure Dragon Corps organized the seventh impulse, Hua Kai saw all the East Hu cavalry fled. Some of them even lost their weapons and took off their armor in order to increase the speed of the horses. With tens of thousands of people escaping, the Azure Dragon Legion has only 3,000 people. They don't need to run as fast as they don't need to stay at the end. Reducing the load on the horses will allow them to escape further. Hua Kai and Hua Zichen looked at each other. The two of them smiled and nodded. The three Azure Dragon regiments separated and chased after all the Donghu cavalry. All those who were overtaken were killed by spear thrusts. Some Donghu cavalry died for their lives, jumped off from the horse and raised his hands on the ground. Only in this way could he survive. The members of the Jialiu merchant group saw that the Azure Dragon Corps defeated the powerful East Hu cavalry. Some people happily crossed the car formation and ran to the battlefield to grab the prisoners. They were not afraid that they were not the opponents of these East Hu cavalry. Hua Kai saw numerous gaps in the rear car formation. Many caravans and slave teams came to the battlefield to rescue the wounded of the Azure Dragon Corps. They completely killed the Donghu cavalry who hadn't died. The corpses of the Azure Dragon Corps soldiers were removed from the battlefield by them. Finding it out in the middle, this makes everyone realize that victory is not as simple as it seems, it is all lives and blood in exchange. The Azure Dragon Legion is all chasing the enemy. Now is the harvest time for the Azure Dragon Legion. They are light cavalry and are much faster than the opponent. This kind of battle is what they are best at. The business group organized tens of thousands of people to catch prisoners and war horses behind the Azure Dragon Legion. Most of these war horses were high-quality steeds, and there were a lot of BMWs. There was a magic horse, which made everyone happy. Hua Kai stayed on the battlefield and watched Wei Hong organize the personnel to clean the battlefield. He came to the neatly arranged remains of Azure Dragon soldiers. Looking at their familiar faces, he couldn't be happy. Patriarch, a total of 43 Azure Dragon Corps soldiers remains. A Hua Jia Ding stood behind Hua Kai and reported. Got it. Hua Kai stood there and didn't look back. Everyone could feel the heaviness in his heart. 54%. Chapter 308 Azure Dragon Legion 3. Since the enemy has been wiped out, there are no obstacles in front of the Jialiu merchant group. Hua Kai asked Wei Hong to organize everyone to go to Baoyu Pass as soon as possible. Without entering the pass, everyone is not absolutely safe. Hua Kai entered the caravan and saw some carriages and horse teams advancing fast. After passing the vast prairie in front of Beishan, they could run at will. The caravan driving cattle and sheep slowly fell to the back of the line. In order to drive the flock, they put some newborn lambs in a specially made carriage, and some ewes yelled all the way behind the carriage. During the next break, they opened the carriage to release the lambs and let the ewe feed the lambs. Hua Kai stood among the cattle and herd, listening to the noisy sound. The grief in his heart was relieved a little. He followed the Hua family business group and drove the sheep slowly towards the direction of Baoyuguan. This time, the East Hu cavalry sent 3 Shantian soldiers to Beishan, and they will definitely pay more attention to the Hua family in the future. Today, Beishan doesn't know if anyone is watching this scene quietly. The Azure Dragon Corps has more than 3,000 people defeating the 20,000 Donghu cavalry. I believe many people have seen it, so I don't know if Donghu can even move them. In any case, the enmity between the Hua family and the Donghu country is completely forged. The Donghu country has lost 25,000 elite cavalry in the hands of the Hua family, and has caused heavy losses to the entire Donghu cavalry. When Donghu country attacks again next time, they will definitely face up to the existence of the Hua family and will not leave any spare power. Stopping until the evening, the cattle and sheep only walked for more than 30 miles, and it would not take another month to walk to Jialiu city at this speed. Hua Jiading sent news that the Azure Dragon Corps chased the East Hu cavalry for 200 miles, and captured more than 8,000 cavalrymen and 10,000 horses. Then they encountered 5,000 East Hu cavalry, and they chased the 5,000 East Hu cavalry. Huakai is not afraid that the Azure Dragon Legion will be in danger. If the 5,000 East Hu cavalrymen are not rescued by tens of thousands of elites, they will surely be eaten away by the Azure Dragon Legion slowly. In the evening, the teams of the Takayanagi caravan supporting the Azure Dragon Legion came back one by one. They took the prisoners and horses and happily told everyone how brave the Azure Dragon Legion was. Huakai stayed in the crowd and looked at everyone with joy. This time defeating the Donghu cavalry, the Hua family's reputation in the grassland will be further ascension. With such a powerful Azure Dragon army guarding them, they will live in Jialiu County life more stable. As night fell, Huakai was in the car formation of the Wahia business group, and it seemed that he was still leading the family business during those years, but now the family is more powerful, and the family business no longer needs core members. The center of gravity has also changed. Everyone went to rest one by one, and there was only the chatter of the cattle grazing on the grassland. The horses in the distance stood quietly and closed their eyes, and the patrol continued to wander around the car formation. Hua Kai couldn't fall asleep anyhow. After a while, he returned to the tent and entered the family secret realm space to ask if there was any news about the Azure Dragon Corps. It stands to reason that the Azure Dragon Corps should have returned by this time. The Azure Dragon Corps has been the hard work of the entire family for many years. If there is an accident, the Chinese family will suffer heavy losses. Not to mention the expansion of the grassland influence, whether it can hold Takayanagi is a problem. Waiting until dawn, Hua Kai sat quietly on the grass. He saw a group of cavalry galloping from the north. He saw that it was a member of the Azure Dragon Corps. Hua Kai who led the team knew him, but he could not be named. How? Where is the legion now? Hua Kai saw the opponent hurriedly greet him. To the Patriarch, there is a new situation. The other party said, panting in front of Hua Kai after getting off the horse. Don't worry, speak slowly. Hua Kai helped the other party and said, Patriarch, we chased the East Hu cavalry. After entering the Donghu grassland, we encountered a cavalry squad of 5,000 people. After chasing the enemy for 300 miles, we found the army of the East Hu country. The team leader said to Hua Kai, how is the Azure Dragon Corps now? How many people does the opponent have? Hua Kai asked. Wu Yi and everyone are staring at each other. There are more than 30,000 cavalry on the other side, and the infantry are some slaves and auxiliary soldiers. The number is more than 70,000. They carry a lot of siege equipment. Wu Yi asked me to come back and tell you. The regiment quickly enters the Leopard Jade Pass. The team leader said to Hua Kai. Hua Kai finally breathed a sigh of relief. The opponent brought 70,000 slaves and a large number of siege equipment. It must be the army of the Donghu country that Shui Pan said. However, this time the opponent failed to attack the Jialiu merchant group. The North Mountain bandits did not know how many people responded to him. Although the Azure Dragon Legion is powerful, it dare not directly fight the enemy in the face of 100,000 army. The fifth uncle must know that the Takaliu merchants are slow to move, leaving the Azure Dragon Legion to buy time for the merchants to enter the customs. Hua Kai asked the team to go to rest first, and let Wei Hong send someone to Baoyuguan to report the letter. Now that the Takaliu business group is only 30 miles away from Beishan, he is afraid that the Beishan bandits will suddenly attack the business group when they see the opportunity, so he asks the Azure Dragon Reserve group to go out and protect the business group. A little bit of time passed, and the Azure Dragon Legion came back and several groups of people reported their current situation. Uncle Wu acted steadily and did not rashly attack the opponent, but only launched several tentative attacks on the opponent's weak auxiliary slave army, which caused the opponent to lose money. After thousands of people, I had to stop. At noon, Hua Kai saw several teams of horses wandering around the merchant group behind him. He knew that what he was worried about had happened. In the end, all the cottages in Beishan couldn't resist the temptation of the Chinese business group. Perhaps they also knew that if they did not solve the problem of the Chinese family would become stronger and stronger in the future, and the threat to them would surpass Lin Huguo and Dong Heguo. So after knowing Donghu's determination to eliminate the Hua family, the cottages in Beishan finally decided to resolve the threat of the Hua family with Donghu. After all, their conflict of interest with the Hua family was much larger than that of Donghu. Fortunately, the North Mountain bandits were not united. They knew that it would take some time for the 100,000 troops of the East Hu to arrive, so they began to discuss the distribution of benefits for the attacking Takaliu merchant group. Before they were allocated, the Azure Dragon Reserve Group had already supported it. NS. Seeing Hua Mo riding on a BMW slowly walking from the east, all the Beishan horses saw the Azure Dragon Reserve Corps, thinking that the Azure Dragon Corps was back. They had the same costumes, and there were more than 4,000 people. Hua Kai knew that Beishan should still have 1 or 2 Shantian realms. The system moved the opponent from the 5th rank to the 6th rank. It must be because of the decrease in the number of Shantian realms. He came to the Azure Dragon Reserve team to prevent the appearance of the opponent's Shantian realm. One seems to be similar to the situation last year, but at that time it was Hua Zichen who took the predecessor of the 700 Azure Dragon Legion to protect the tens of thousands of Chinese merchants from entering the Leopard Jade Pass. Last year's opponents were the 5,000 North Mountain Bandits and 5,000 East Hu Cavalry. This year the number of enemies has increased dozens of times, and the number of the Wahia Caravan and Azure Dragon Corps has also increased by more than 5 times. At dark, the Takaliu merchant group had to stop and rest. The Azure Dragon Reserve Group camped 5 miles behind the merchant group and saw some Beishan horse bandits crossing the Azure Dragon Reserve Group to investigate in front of the merchant group. Hua Mo looked at this time. Hua Kai. Brother, do you want to drive these little thieves away? Hua Mo was still very excited that he was able to lead the Azure Dragon Reserve Group to protect the Jaliu merchant group into the customs. He did not expect that he would actually go to the battlefield in the reserve group for a day. No, the business group is not without resistance. If they dare to test the defense of the business group's car formation, then it is the best time for you to take action. Hua Kai said to Hua Mo. Although Hua Mo has been the core figure of the Hua family for so many years, his real practical ability is not much. Even Shui Chen, who is in the Ordos tribe, is not as good. Hua Kai carefully explained to him the combat methods of the light cavalry battlefield. Although Hua Mo had crossed all these things, he still listened carefully to the first battlefield effect. On the second day, Hua Kai finally saw the North Mountain Bandits appearing on the west side of the Jaliu merchant group. The opposing cavalry has only about 5,000 people, and they are divided into hundreds of lineups. With more than 50,000 infantrymen, they approached the Jaliu merchant group from a distance. There were a large number of slaves in the Takaliu merchant group. They saw so many enemy troops appearing behind them, and there was chaos for a while. At this time, many members of the caravan group gathered all the slaves together, tied up all the disobedient, and then directly killed the rioters. In this way, the business group slowly became quiet. Hua Kai and Hua Mo stood at the forefront of the Azure Dragon Reserve Group and looked at the North Mountain Bandit army behind them. They knew that this was almost the entire strength of the entire Beishan. They are now staying in Beishan. In each cottage, there may only be some women and children. The Jaliu merchant group continued to move forward. Wei Hong did several decades, knowing that the most important thing about encountering thieves and bandits is to be steady. Now that Hua Kai and Azure Dragon Reserve Group have cleaned them up, their most important task now is hurry back to the Leopard Jade Pass. 1 second is 1 second faster. The Beishan army seemed to be more jealous of the Azure Dragon Reserve. They only sent a small number of cavalry teams to investigate near the huge Takayanagi merchant group, seeming to find a place where they could break through. The main group slowly came to Azure Dragon Corps and stopped moving forward. Hua Mo saw that the Beishan army began to stop and set up the battle formation, but they were some temporarily organized bandits. The organized battle formation was also strange and full of flaws. Hua Mo looked at Hua Kai beside him. The biggest advantage of the light cavalry is speed. They organize battle formations. Even if they are full of flaws, it is useless for us. After all, we have more than 4,000 troops and rushed into the 50,000 infantry formation. 4,000 to 50,000. At that time, even if physical strength was not considered, at least a dozen charge would be required. How much do we have to lose? Even if they consume 20,000, it is considered an upgrade. Waiting to find a chance. Hua Kai said to Hua Mo next to him. When the opponent organized a belligerent formation and slowly approached the Azure Dragon Legion, Hua Mo commanded the Azure Dragon Reserve Corps to slowly retreat until the back of the Takaliu Merchant Corps. Hua Mo separated 2,000 member teams and walked towards the 2 wings of the Beishan army. Huakai let Wamo command himself. This Baishan army is low in combat power. As long as the Azure Dragon Reserve Group is not entangled, there will be no danger. Wamo can try the light cavalry command at will. Huakai put his gaze on all the leaders of the Baishan army. He has not yet found the other person in the Shantian realm. 55%. Chapter 309 Azure Dragon Legion 4. Huakai knew that with the strength of the Azure Dragon Reserve Group, it would be difficult for the Baishan army to use what they could do. After all, the Azure Dragon Reserve Group was much more mobile than them. The Takaliu Merchant Group is not an easy master. If there is no Azure Dragon Reserve Group, they can continue to wear down the merchant group's will to resist, find flaws and break through the camp. But now that the Azure Dragon Reserve Group is constrained, they have to consider the possibility of being attacked by the enemy. So when the Baishan army approached the merchant group, Huakai and Wamo led more than 2,000 Azure Dragon Reserve soldiers and quickly withdrew to the car formation. However, the Baishan army was tentatively attacking the Jaliucheng car formation. They saw that the Azure Dragon Reserve Group had begun to harass their flanks. They exchanged dozens of lives with the Jaliu business group, but they were prepared by the outer Azure Dragon. The regiment seized the opportunity and killed hundreds of people on both wings. The direct attack is nothing more than the consumption of the strength of both sides. The Jaliu merchant group is not afraid to do this, but the Baishan army can't afford it. They came to take advantage. Watching the North Mountain army retreat, Wamo led the Azure Dragon Reserve Group to kill the North Mountain bandits who broke into the car array and had no time to escape. Huakai brought the 2,000 Azure Dragon Reserve Group here to prevent the opponent from opening too much at the car array. Big gap. When the Baishan army retreated, the Azure Dragon Reserve Group came back to the Jaliu business group and blocked the Baishan army. The Jaliu business group saw that they all got up and started on their way. If the Azure Dragon Legion is here, Huakai will let them slowly cannibalize the Baishan army, killing the opponent's fighting spirit a little bit, but on the Azure Dragon Reserve Group, Huakai would not let them take risks. The battlefield experience is too little. Both sides wanted to protect themselves. No one wanted to start a fierce battle. Until the evening, the Takaliu merchant group had only walked 20 miles a day, and the Baishan army followed as far behind as the tail of the Takaliu merchant group, as long as they could slowly drag down the footsteps of the Jaliu merchant group. When the East Hu's 100,000 army arrives, then all of this can be left to the East Hu army, so that Donghu and Jaliu County can fight each other, and that is what they want to see. In the evening, Huakai saw the Baishan army camping 5 miles behind them. They were also afraid that the elite Azure Dragon Reserve team would attack the camp at night. They would not have time to react. Huakai didn't make a move today. He has been looking for the other party's Shantian realm to exist, but for a day's time. Not only did the opponent fail to make a move, he didn't even show up. Huakai was thinking that the Baishan Shantian realm did not follow the army. In fact, the Baishan army came with the intention of watching the excitement this time. Donghu State has promised that as long as they send troops to strengthen their presence, they are completely in a situation of quickly taking down Jaliu County to revenge and hate. Send troops together. The senior leaders of the Baishan army know that there are definitely more Shantian realms in Jaliu County than them, and their masters are resolutely not making moves. They are targeted by the Chinese Shantian realm, so there is no danger to their lives. In the evening, Huakai entered the family secret realm space and saw Wushu unexpectedly in the family space. Why, Uncle Wu, are you injured? Did King Donghu take the shot himself? Huakai asked worriedly when he saw Wushu's face pale and weak. Haha, I'm fine. This time Donghu State sent a half-step foundation building. Tang Lei, Shui Pan and I couldn't completely suppress each other. Now I dare not separate the legion, I can only get together to delay the other party's march. Step, Hua Zichen said. The half-step foundation building is a delicate realm between the Shantian realm of Zochin and the foundation building realm. The body has formed the power of internal small rules circulation, but it still takes time to perfect the small rules. I didn't expect that in addition to the King of Donghu State, there is actually a half-step foundation building. North Mountain bandits dare not fight us head-on. We have too many cattle and sheep. The Azure Dragon Reserve team does not have the ability to fight head-on fights. Now they can only fight with the North Mountain army. The cottages in the North Mountain hope very much for us. The beaten hid in the Leopard Jade Pass and couldn't get out, but I definitely don't want to wear too much. Huakai told Wushu about the Jaliu merchant group. Zhuang was on duty today in the family secret realm space. He was worried when he heard that the family was fighting against the two major forces of Donghu and Baishan. Can we gather the power of Takayanagi County to destroy the North Mountain Bandits first, or let the Azure Dragon Corps turn around and completely wipe out the North Mountain Bandits first, and then we can concentrate on dealing with Donghu country? Zhuang suggested. The Vermilion Bird Corps has only 2,000 cavalry. After the infantry arrives from Jialiu City, it is estimated that it will take about 10 days. Even if it finally arrives, it will not be very useful. Now both of us are fighting for time. Seeing that the East whose 100,000 troops are coming. Can we enter the Leopard Jade Pass before? Azure Dragon Legion is dragging Donghu Army's footsteps. Bashan bandits are dragging the Jialiu merchant group's footsteps. Hua Zichen said. Now our business group can only travel up to 20 miles a day, and it will take a month to get to Baoyuguan at the fastest. Wushu, if we both shoot at the same time, can we beat the other half-step foundation building? Huakai this time to speak. I'm afraid it's more difficult. The other party has understood the complete rules and suppressed us very much. Even if I have the 8 treasure knight armor, I can't completely resist the opponent's attack. Shui Pan is now more injured than me. Hua Zichen said the voice. If the opponent does not have the half-step foundation building, the Azure Dragon Legion can completely kill the opponent with its flexible speed and powerful combat power. If the opponent cannot kill the half-step foundation building, then the Azure Dragon Legion can only rely on constant harassment. The speed of the opponent's march is the same as that of the Bashan army. According to the current marching speed of the two sides, we will be overtaken by the Donghu army in 20 days at most, and then we can only give up all the cattle and sheep. Fifth uncle, have you ever thought of avoiding damage through family secret realm space, and then unexpectedly, half-step the opponent to solve the foundation building? Hua Kai suddenly thought of something. Through the family space. Hua Zichen heard this sudden brain movement. He knew family secret realm space to avoid attacks, but couldn't think of how to kill a half-step foundation building unexpectedly. The next day, Hua Zichen, Shui Pan, and Tang Lei rarely took action. The Azure Dragon Corps' ability to harass the Donghu army suddenly weakened. Several times, the Azure Dragon Corps had just killed the enemy's slave auxiliary army. The East Hu cavalry came, and they withdrew without hesitation, which made their influence on the East Hu army less and less. Hua Zichen and Shui Pan are recovering from their injuries. Huakai's plan last night made them feel very feasible. As long as they kill the other half-step foundation building, even if they can't solve the 100,000 East Hu's army, they must take the North Mountain Thief. All the bandits are dealt with. In this way, using Yema village as a springboard, it will be easy for the Hua family to win Bashan. Huakai first forged a gentian gun one night. This is a 4th-rank spiritual weapon. It is the longest spear that can be refined in the Huakai space, the split-air gun. The total cost of 12,000 family luck points made the Hua family luck value lower than 9,000 points for the first time in 6 months. A gentian gun almost used up Huakai's high-grade strange stones, and now his remaining high-grade strange stones are only enough to refine a 1st-rank spiritual weapon. He discussed with the 5th uncle and waited for Tang Lei's injury in 3 days. The recovery is almost complete, so go to join them. For 3 days, on the one hand, it was for Tang Lei to recover, and on the other hand, Hua Kai needed to accumulate some family luck points and forge some armor for them. On September 11th, Huakai learned from the family secret realm space that the wheat in Huahiapu, Guangxian County was mature. This year the wheat is more than 80,000 shi, which can help Jialiucheng solve a large part of the food problem. Huakai let the 3rd uncle Hua Ziji contacted and continued to purchase grain, and Huahia has been buying grain and has never stopped. All the spiritual rice in Weisung has been planted. Crystal persimmon has been planted in Lingtian for less than a year and has grown to a height of 1 person. Salming flour is growing well, and Heavenly Horse Field is ready to accept the preparation of the horses. Now everyone in the family is looking outside the Leopard Jade Pass, and everyone is anxiously waiting for the merchant group to come back. Hua Kai got up early in the morning and it was still dark, so he quietly left the merchant car formation. He rode the Black Eagle for more than an hour, following the direction given by Wushu Hua Zichen, and soon saw Donghu's the 100,000 army also saw more than 3,000 members of Azure Dragon Corps not far away. The Donghu army tried every means to prevent the Azure Dragon Corps. They were just a temporary camp. 100,000 people only built an area of 30 acres. There were horse traps dug everywhere in the camp, which shows 3,000. To what extent is the Azure Dragon Corps deterring them? Seeing several members of the Azure Dragon Legion who were investigating in the distance, Hua Kai slowly approached and returned to the Azure Dragon Legion area with the reconnaissance team. Huakai watched the 3,000 Azure Dragon Corps soldiers leaning on horsebacks eating dry food, and couldn't help but respect them. Because they didn't even build camps, Donghu army must pay attention to their movements every second. Azure Dragon Corps after more than an hour, as long as you get up and move a little bit, the entire Donghu camp must be moved. They know how powerful the Azure Dragon Legion is. Seeing Wushu and Tang Lei, with the help of Medicine Pill, their injuries have almost recovered. Uncle Fifth, your silver gun is not enough to deal with the half-step foundation building. Although this deep purple gun is only a 7th grade treasure weapon, it has the effect of weakening the defense of the will, and the opponent's foundation building is no better than ordinary spiritual weapons. Difference. Tang Lei, this armor is called Wen Shan Kai. It is an 8th grade treasure. As a heavy armor, it can offset most of the damage to the foundation building. Hua Kai first arrived and distributed the equipment to the two. Shui Pan, these are 12 cloud-piercing arrows, all treasure weapon level arrows. Each of these 12 arrows is worth the same as a treasure weapon. The success of this plan depends on your performance. Hua Kai said, handing crossing cloud arrow to Shui Pan. Except for Huakai's own Genshin gun, the remaining 3 weapons and equipment cost a total of more than 9,000 family luck points, which makes the Hua family luck value less than 10,000 points now. 55%. Chapter 310 Half-Step Foundation Building. On September 12, Linhu grassland was already hot in the early morning at this time. Huakai rode behind Wushu as far as possible to avoid being noticed by the distant Donghu army. They stood outside Donghu camp and watched each other slowly pack things, waiting. The other party goes out. Until the morning hour, a group of 10,000 cavalry came out of the camp, and they rushed towards the Azure Dragon Legion. In the past, Hua Zichen would escape the entanglement of the opposing cavalry, looking for opportunities to raid the opposing slaves and auxiliary soldiers, destroying their armaments and supplies. If you encounter a small-scale entanglement, you will quickly eat it. If you encounter a large-scale cavalry of the opponent, you will quickly evacuate, because if the Chinese cavalry is entangled for too long, the opponent's chief will personally go out. It is folded in the hands of the opposing leader. Hua Zichen deliberately slowed down during the evacuation today. He led the Azure Dragon Army elite to the back, deliberately chasing the Donghu slave and auxiliary soldiers who were pulling out the camp. 10,000 East Hu cavalry saw how the Azure Dragon Legion could go over and try their best to chase and block them. The Azure Dragon Legion was chased away from the target unknowingly. When the slaves and auxiliary soldiers saw this, they knew that they were temporarily out of danger, and they got up and carried their armaments and began to rush. No one noticed that the 10,000 Donghu cavalry had chased them for nearly 10 miles. Seeing that the Donghu cavalry slowed down, they had to turn around and turn back. Hua Zichen did not entangle with the opponent as before, but suddenly organized the Azure Dragon Legion to forcefully kill the opponent. The opponent's cavalry did not expect that the Azure Dragon Corps would choose to attack. They hurriedly organized their teammates to tighten their formation to charge the Azure Dragon Corps. If they couldn't charge, they would suffer heavy losses. Hua Zichen smashed the quartet and took the lead in rushing into the enemy's army. Many Shantian realms followed closely. The Donghu cavalry was divided into 2 by Azure Dragon Corps like tofu. Before the East Hu cavalry could react again, the Azure Dragon Corps launched a second assault. As a result, more than 2,000 people were taken away this time, and the Azure Dragon Corps' loss was negligible. Suddenly, the battle was completely unfolded within a few minutes. At this time, another group of thousands of cavalry in the East Hu army quickly came to support the East Hu cavalry. This time, the Azure Dragon Legion seemed to be cool. It was only discovered when the opponent was close to a kilometer, and then it escaped from the Donghu cavalry and fled into the distance. The lowest of the 1,000 horses is a steed-class war horse, and the hundreds of people in the front are actually BMW class. A 50-year-old Donghu general is riding on a horse and chasing the Azure Dragon Legion quickly. Hua Zichen, Hua Kai, Shui Pan, and Tang Lei looked at each other, and they nodded each other to express their understanding that all the arrangements in the past few days were just for today's battle, and they have not been in direct confrontation with each other, paralyzing the other side and sending 10,000 cavalry to chase. Keeping away from the opponent's main force, the Hua family will use this short time to quickly resolve the opponent's main general's life. Everyone, act according to the plan and give full play to the advantages of the cavalry. Everyone must be fast, Hua Zichen shouted. At this time, the opponent's commander was only about 500 meters away from the Azure Dragon Legion. For Shenju, it only takes 10 seconds to sprint. Hua Zichen kept his eyes on the opponent, Azure Dragon Core began to flee northward with all his strength. Seeing that the opponent was getting closer and closer to Azure Dragon Core, he could only come forward to pester the other party, and gave the Azure Dragon Core a chance to retreat. I don't know how many times I have lost money under this Donghu master. Tianlongju, a neighing sound. Hua Zichen mobilized Babao Knight name armor True Chi, injected them all into deep purple spear, and a carbine to kill the opponent. In the entire Azure Dragon Legion, only Hua Zichen was able to temporarily resist the opponent's main general by virtue of his equipment advantage. The two of them had fought against each other several times, and they were already very familiar with each other. When the two met one by one, the main Donghu felt something was wrong. He could feel that the opponent's attack power was a little bit stronger than before, and then fixed his eyes to see that the opponent changed his weapon today. Young man, if you think you can defeat me with a tier 7 divine armament, then you are too ignorant. I see you use up the energy in this divine armor, how can you use it to escape? In one fight, he didn't get the upper hand. Hua Zichen took advantage of the force of the two to fight back and distanced himself from each other, and continued to choose to escape. No one noticed that Hua Zichen actually slowly separated from the entire Azure Dragon Legion, and only 3 people were still around him in front of him. When the Lord Donghu came to catch up again, he found that the Azure Dragon Legion had started to split in two and fled to both sides. In his opinion, these were good things. Without the Azure Dragon Legion blocking, even if the 4 people left by the opponent were all in Shantian realm, he was confident that he would behead Hua Zichen today. Huakai saw that the other party was only 10 meters away from the 4 of them. The Donghu master will inject True Chi into the crotch horse with all his strength. The horse is basically running through the air, and quickly draws closer to the 4 of them. At this time Shui Pan actually left the team and rode the horse to the left. Hua Kai and Tang Lei dispersed on both sides of Hua Zichen. They suddenly tightened the reins, and the 3 horses neighed and stopped. The Lord Donghu will see the opponent die. True Chi gathers on the spear and kills Hua Zichen. He knows that the True Chi in Hua Zichen's armor is not infinitely borrowed. As long as he can catch up with the opponent, he is sure to kill the opponent. Lord Donghu was very confident in his ultimate move this time, but when his spear was only more than 1 meter away from Hua Zichen, he found that the opponent had disappeared. This sudden change caused Donghu master's heart to move. He felt a strong sense of crisis coming. When he strangled his hips, he suddenly heard movement behind him. Not Hua Zichen was who had just disappeared. Before the Donghu master could stop his horse, he heard Hua Zichen's crotch screaming, and Shenzhen was agitated when he heard the squeaking under his crotch, and almost threw him off his back. He hurriedly injected True Chi into the crotch horse to soothe its emotions. It was a strong sense of crisis coming. A silver arrow quickly flew towards him. He hurriedly blocked it with a spear, but it was still too late. His spear and arrows flicked straight at his throat, and at the last moment he could only use his arm to block it. Jian Ying pierced his True Chi barrier and pierced his arm. Lord Donghu couldn't be surprised in the future. He felt the wind passing by behind him. He had no time to check and could only use his right spear to block it. With a dang, weapon collided. Tang Lei's supernatural power made the opponent take 2 steps back quickly. The Donghu master would not be able to check his arm injury. Tang Lei's ultimate move came again. He was so cruel that he ignored the defense and raised his spear to Tang Lei attacked. At this time, no matter how stupid the Donghu master would be, he knew he was in ambush. The other party did not know how to suddenly disappear, and then used a kind of light-speed arrow that can penetrate his True Chi to hurt the money. After Hua Zichen comes back, he is probably not an opponent. At this time, Shui Pan's second arrow arrived, and Tang Lei yelled Azure Dragon Yanyu knife and slashed on the shoulder of the main Donghu. A strong True Chi cover flashed past, and Tang Lei still caused him some damage. When the other party saw another light and shadow flying towards him, he lost his own spear and jumped into the air. Before the spear hit Tang Lei, Lord Donghu focused all his attention on the second arrow of light. Hua Kai did not know when he had silently appeared behind him. Gentiana's spear with the power of the second layer ice wool, under the skill of Zochan level splitting spear, it directly pierces the opponent's back. Huakai's willpower has reached 67 points, which makes his marksmanship and attack power reach the late stage of ordinary Shantian, plus this is his full blow. Gentian gun directly pierced the opponent's True Chi cover and armor, directly pierced the opponent's body. What? Lord Donghu spouted blood essence in his mouth. He felt a strong ice force in this spear was eroding his body, ignoring the flying arrows, and instantly exploded the remaining True Chi in his body. Hua Kai's gentian gun was directly shaken out of his body by him. Shui Pan's cloud-piercing arrow only shot to his chest, and a blood arrow flew along with the gentian gun. When he was ejected, Hua Kai couldn't help but smile when he saw that the plan was successful. Quickly, don't give him a chance to breathe. Such a serious injury will not be fatal to the half-step foundation building. Hua Kai went to pick up his own Gentiana gun, and shouted to the Wushu Hua Zichen behind him. At this time, Hua Zichen rode and quickly slew towards Donghu Master, and Tang Lei also followed at this time. The main body of Donghu, who was seriously injured, lost his weapon and had run out of true qi in his body, is still resisting, but it has no effect. When Huakai supports him, the ice of ice in his body has spread to the internal organs, and his actions begin to become more and more serious. It's getting slower and slower. Hua Zichen deep purple spear stabbed the opponent in the chest, but the master Donghu held the deep purple spear tightly. Tang Lei slashed at the opponent, and the opponent was still lucky in just such a short while true qi resisted. His true qi recovery speed was unimaginable, and his vitality was much stronger than ordinary human beings. Hua Kai saw that he got the gentian gun here and joined the ranks of besieging the main general of Donghu. At this time, the East Hu cavalry saw that the owner was besieged and his life might be in danger. They shouted and rushed in the direction of Huakai, but because the East Hu cavalry was too confident and left the East Hu cavalry queue too far, Donghu the cavalry can only watch their main general's resistance getting weaker and weaker under the siege of the Huakai 4. The East Hu cavalry was only more than 500 meters away from the battlefield where Hua Kai was located. At this time, the Donghu Lord General was dying. If the other party rescued their Lord General, it is likely to fall short today. Hua Kai, Hua Zichen and others didn't seem to see the Donghu cavalry rushing from a distance. They put their minds on the main Donghu general. At this time, the Azure Dragon army divided into two cavalry teams and rushed back in time. They rushed into the East Hu cavalry lineup from the two wings, and the time was just right. The East Hu cavalry was charged by the Azure Dragon Legion, so they could only turn their heads and fight with them. The rhythm of the battlefield was firmly controlled by the Azure Dragon Legion. 55%. Chapter 311 Hua Kai's Choice. When Hua Zichen and Tang Lei saw that the Azure Dragon Legion finally turned around in time to block the charge of the Donghu cavalry for them, they couldn't help laughing happily. Lord Donghu has no weapons, and his injuries are getting heavier when he is seriously injured. He is extremely desperate when he sees that the East Hu cavalry is blocked and cannot come to rescue himself. Hua Kai's spear thrust pierced through Donghu's chest, and saw that the other party was desperately reaching out to grab him, hurriedly moved, and hid in the family secret realm space. After seeing this opportunity, Hua Zichen and others added a few more fatal wounds to Lord Donghu. Hua Kai waited for 3 seconds before returning to reality and found that Wushu Hua Zichen's deep purple gun had pierced the opponent neck. That Donghu Lord will finally be dead. After repeatedly confirming that the target was dead, Hua Kai saw Donghu's army slowly approaching in the distance. The Azure Dragon Legion is now inextricably separated from the remaining 8,000 East Hu cavalry. If it cannot escape the battle in a short time, then the Azure Dragon Legion is likely to be surrounded by 100,000 army, and the surrounded light cavalry has only a life to be slaughtered. Hurry up and support. Let the Azure Dragon Legion leave the team as soon as possible. Donghu army can catch up in half an hour at most. Hua Zichen saw that the mission target had already died, while saying to Hua Kai and others, while riding to the distant battlefield to support away. Hua Zichen is the chief commander of the Azure Dragon Legion, and the backbone of the entire Azure Dragon Legion. Everyone who saw him came back would know that his mission had been completed. For a while, the Donghu cavalry had been killed. Hua Zichen went to the south while shouting in the queue that the Azure Dragon Corps would retreat to the north. Some team captains and above all approached him consciously, and those who were relatively weak began to retreat quickly. This retreat method, Azure Dragon Corps, has been trained for a long time. All the Qi training realms quickly moved in the opposite direction of retreat, and waited until the last party to change all ordinary members to the retreat direction, and then the strongest stood in the most dangerous position. Everyone can escape the entanglement of the enemy. When Hua Kai and Shui Pan entered the battlefield, they saw that many ordinary soldiers of the Azure Dragon Legion had already withdrawn from the battle group. They lined up to resist the enemy's attack and responded to each teammate to leave the battle quickly. The two of them went to the place where the killing was the strongest. When they reached Hua Zichen's side, they saw him bringing hundreds of elites above the Qi level to continue to rush in the enemy's line, and the members of the Azure Dragon Legion were picked up by them. Many elites above the team leader were rescued and followed Hua Zichen to rush around, and the enemies wherever they passed were killed one after another. Hua Kai did not know how many people had been killed in the East Hu cavalry formation. When he found Wushu Hua Zichen along with the sound of killing, he saw that he was being besieged by a Shantian realm and more than a dozen practitioners. With Black Eagle stepping into the air, he came to Wushu Hua Zichen's side, and took several shots to solve the opponent's aura in the realm of Zochin. At this time, many Donghu cavalry masters came to kill them, and now their main general is killed. How can they watch the enemy flee from their side? Many Donghu cavalry, regardless of life and death, attack the defense line of the elite organization of Azure Dragon Legion. Uncle Wu, how is it? Hua Kai came to Hua Zichen and deceived himself to kill the enemy Shantian realm. After the Shantian realm and Hua Kai fought for less than 10 rounds, he was defeated by Hua Kai. Hanbing Ji Li. The influence was slow, and Hua Zichen came up to take his life within a few strokes. People are almost withdrawn. The opponent still has a Shantian realm who seems to be there. We hurried over to see if we can meet it. If we can kill the last Shantian realm of the opponent, we will definitely win this time. Hua Zichen shouted to Hua Kai. In fact, now that the 9 Shantians of the Azure Dragon Legion are completely crushing the Donghu cavalry to kill, the opponent is on the verge of defeat. But watching the support from the army behind them slowly came, they continued to persist. Hua Kai didn't know how many people he had killed. He felt that the crowd around him was getting sparser and he couldn't see any members of his side. At this time, the Donghu army came to support him. The north began to retreat. Only a few Chinese Shantian realms were left on the battlefield here to slaughter the East Hu cavalry, and the last Shantian realm of the opponent was not exposed to the end. Leaving the battlefield, the elites of the Azure Dragon Legion also began to retreat. Soon the Azure Dragon Legion completely got rid of the entanglement of the East Hu cavalry. Isn't they supposed to have 20,000 cavalry? Why don't they send out cavalry at the last moment? This can cause us some trouble. Hua Kai came to the front of the Azure Dragon army team and asked Wushu. The Azure Dragon Legion got rid of the entanglement of the opponent, and the infantry of the opponent gave up chasing when they saw this place. Now they have no other way to take the Azure Dragon Legion and can only look at them from a distance. Those 20,000 people, they are all integrated by small tribes. In fact, Donghu has only 30,000 elite cavalry this time. The others are used for strong momentum. Of these 70,000 slave soldiers, 50,000 have been on the battlefield. Yes, the combat power is stronger than the 20,000 small tribal cavalry. Hua Zichen looked at Hua Kai and said. The 20,000 cavalrymen of Donghu were defeated by Azure Dragon Corps on the northeast side. The remaining 10,000 cavalrymen are now less than 6,000. Without the control of the other half-step foundation building, the resistance of Donghu army to Azure Dragon Corps has been reduced. Times, what they can do now, seems to be waiting for the Azure Dragon Corps to take the initiative to attack. Hua Kai gathered with the core members of Azure Dragon Corps, and everyone was extremely excited. Today's World War I, Azure Dragon Corps, made Donghu army recognize its own strength. Now Donghu army has begun to organize defenses on the spot, and they dare not distance themselves at will, leaving the Azure Dragon army with a breakthrough opportunity. Patriarch, what do you do now? The 9 of us in the Shantian realm can completely eat all of the other party slowly. Hua Peng said, unable to conceal the excitement in his heart. The opponent has now fully organized the defense. Even if we are not afraid of the opponent, we have to eat a little bit of 100,000 people. I don't know how long it will take, and our own losses will inevitably not be small. Let's count our own casualties first. Hua Kai, seeing Donghu army who was slowly retreating, said. The Azure Dragon Corps damage was quickly counted. 66 people were killed and over 100 injured. This was completely beyond Hua Kai's expectation. Most of these casualties were caused by the opponent's thousands of elites. There are hundreds of environments, and there are not many losses left in this battle. At noon, Donghu's army defended on the spot, and it seemed that he did not intend to leave anymore. Azure Dragon Legion also watched the opponent not have a chance to attack. Seeing that the opponent sent several teams to detect horses, it seemed that they were leaving to report. Hua Kai asked Azure Dragon Legion Shantian to lead the team to chase and kill by riding a horse, and not let the opponent escape alone. Let her out. In the afternoon, Hua Kai and the Azure Dragon Corps carried out several exploratory attacks on the Donghu army, and the other side only adopted a countermeasure, that is, to organize defenses on the spot. Hua Kai and Azure Dragon Corps took the lead in rushing and killing many people from Shantian realm. They used a variety of methods such as combining forces, dividing forces, and combining them with priority. The Donghu army injured more than 3,000 people, and Azure Dragon army also lost 3 people. East Hu's army has no main general, so this battle will be a lot easier to fight, but the opponent's method of reducing the team spacing and defending on the spot in crisis will leave us at a loss. The afternoon seems to have achieved a lot, but everyone knows that. Most of them were killed by our Qi training realms, and ordinary pneumatic realms were entangled by the opponent, making it difficult to get out. In the evening, all the senior members of the Azure Dragon Corps of Huakai sat together, and Huakai sat among them and said, "If this goes on, it won't work. We Shantian has too many shots and our own karma will grow stronger. I believe that if the 100,000 Donghu army has not been wiped out, we will all be destroyed by karma." Shui Pan said. Everyone shook their heads when they heard this. 100,000 Donghu army, they were only 3,000 people. If this continues, they don't know how long they can kill. If our task is to hold the Donghu army for a month, it is very easy to complete it now. We only need to slowly follow the Donghu army behind him. Then wait for these Donghu army to slowly go to Leopard Yudian, then the Jaliu business group. It is very possible that we have already entered the customs. We put the battlefield at the Baoyuguan, so that we have an absolute advantage on the terrain, and these Donghu soldiers must go to the Baoyuguan, or they will be defeated before they reach the Baoyudian. King Donghu estimates it's hard to let them go. Huakai analyzed it for everyone, and everyone listened carefully. Although it was only a continuous battle for 5 days, the battles in the past few days have been extremely fierce, and many people's karma has grown very fast. In fact, everyone knows that the purpose of this war is to hold down the large forces and buy time for the merchants to enter the customs, instead of killing all the 100,000 East Hu's army on the grassland. If you follow this most stable path, the Baishan bandits will probably learn about the death of Lord Donghu halfway through, and they will probably withdraw directly back to Baishan. The end result is that they will break through and attack our business group. Or just run back to Baishan. Anyway, the result is that we have to fight Donghu army in Leopard Yudian. The North Mountain bandits will definitely retreat ahead of time. The difference is whether the North Mountain bandits will jump over the wall and attack our business group before leaving. Azure Dragon can the reserve team protect the business team. Huakai finished speaking and looked at everyone around him. Everyone nodded when they heard it. From this moment on, it was impossible for the East Hu army to be harmful to the Jaliu merchant group. The final key was the Azure Dragon reserve group and the North Mountain bandit. I'm afraid that the reserve regiment will not be able to stop the Baishan bandits from attacking. Patriarch, should we split up a large team to support the reserve regiment? We can still contain the Donghu army with 2,000 troops left. Tang Lei said, everyone knows the preparations. The importance of the regiment. My thought is, we might as well give up the East Hu cavalry and deal with the North Mountain bandits first. Today's East Hu army is afraid of marching too far. We only need to leave a few teams of men and horses around him to look for investigations. I believe they will not dare to leave the army easily. Taking advantage of the fact that the North Mountain bandits have not made a decision today, we join the reserve team and take the entire North Mountain army first, then the entire North Mountain will soon fall into our hands. This is a rare opportunity. Quote, 55%. Chapter 312. The end of the Baishan army. Huakai analyzed this way, and everyone found that in fact, the biggest influence on Jaliu County had changed from the Donghu army to the North Mountain bandits. If they can quickly eliminate the Baishan army, the benefits to the Hua family are far stronger than the elimination of the 100,000 Donghu army. Many. Tonight, the Donghu army is likely to send someone to the North Mountain bandits at night. If they want to be rescued, they can only ask for help from Donghu country while urging the North Mountain bandits to attack the merchant group as soon as possible to force us to return. So it's best to return to the merchant group as soon as possible, so as to give the North Mountain bandits a surprise attack. Huakai looked at everyone around and said in a low voice. Then, we will set off early tomorrow morning. When we go back, we will solve the Baishan bandits first, and then we will return to continue to harass the Donghu army and protect the merchant group to enter the customs as soon as possible. Hua Zichen said. In the early morning of the next day, when Donghu Daijin woke up, he found that the Azure Dragon Legion had disappeared. Many people could not believe that their coach was killed. They had lost the ability to fight the Azure Dragon Legion and died. The coach hasn't made any contributions, and they can't go back to the tribe directly. Now everyone is worrying about when they can get to the Leopard Jade Pass. General, the elite of Jaliu County are gone. A general in the Donghu army came to the main account and said to the Donghu general who was in the main position, "Now the Donghu army only has him in the Shantian realm, and 100,000 army naturally falls into his hands. But for the first time holding such a heavy soldier in his hand, he couldn't be happy. Imagining the elite level of the cavalry on the other side. The other side could kill the foundation building half a step. Wherever he went out, he still had a chance to survive. He heard that the enemy finally left. There was a burst of excitement in his heart. Are you sure that the enemy army really left? Donghu Wuzhong asked aloud. Now they have left 100 cavalrymen, divided into more than 10 teams, wandering around our army. This person does not pose a threat to us. Pian Zhang said aloud. Maybe they are trying to lure our cavalry out. Now our cavalry is not the opponent of the other side, so let all the cavalry not go out easily. You said that if the other side does leave, where did they go? Donghu Wuzhong thought. Where else can I go? Protect their business group to go. Pianzhang said casually. Returning aid. Broken. The North Mountain bandits are about to be over. You quickly lead the 2,000 cavalry to Beishan. Don't conflict with the elite cavalry of Jialiu County, and don't let Jialiu County occupy Beishan. General Donghu said loudly. When Donghu Daijin found out that the Azure Dragon Legion had left, the Azure Dragon Legion had already arrived 30 miles north of the merchant group. Hua Zichen sent a team to inform Hua Mo and Wei Hong to prepare them for the next battle. When the Jialiu merchant group set out again in the morning, the Beishan army also began to pull out the camp and followed. As usual, they did not divide their troops to harass the two wings of the merchant group because they had lost thousands of cavalry last time. The Shanjai is willing to waste its strength on the temptation of the Jialiu merchant group. The Azure Dragon Reserve group continued to follow the business group, separating the Beishan army from the Takayagi business group, so that the business group could go on their way with heart. More than 10 people, including Hua Kai and Hua Zichen, approached the army of Beishan on horseback. They saw that they had all pulled out of the camp and began to prepare for another harassment today. They did not send any investigative tribes to investigate their surroundings. It seems that the news of Lord Donghu's death is still there. Do not know. Azure Dragon Corps detoured to the rear of the North Mountain Army to the west, waiting for them to get close to the North Mountain Army to more than 10 miles. Only then did the North Mountain bandits discover that a cavalry regiment appeared behind them. Huakai and the Azure Dragon Legion and the Shantian realm walked in the forefront. They charged from west to east towards the Beishan army. The Beishan army is still organizing a harassment business group and is fighting against the Azure Dragon Reserve group. When they discover the enemy behind them, it is too late to organize a defensive battle. The Takayanagi merchant group saw the Azure Dragon army in the distance killing the North Mountain bandits, shouting happily one by one. The Azure Dragon group must not be the opponent in these North Mountain bandits, but they have seen the Azure Dragon group smash and defeat 20,000 in 7 times. Donghu Cavalry. The Beishan army saw here hurriedly organizing the offensive team to retreat, but at this time how could the Azure Dragon reserve team let them leave safely, biting the opponent's tail and just holding on? The Shantians of Huakai and Hua Zichen broke into the army of Beishan, and all the bandits in Beishan were killed wherever they passed. The Azure Dragon army followed closely behind the masters of Shantian. The entire army of Beishan was like being stabbed by a sharp sword. Entering, the speed continues to split the entire Beishan army into two. When approaching the end of the merchant group, Hua Kai and Hua Zichen each led half of them to the sides of the merchant group, and soon they rushed out of the Beishan army formation. The Azure Dragon Reserve group saw that the formation of the Beishan army was in chaos, and the more they killed, Hua Kai and all the Azure Dragon army soldiers rushed out of the Beishan army lineup, stabilized and waited for them to line up, and continued to rush towards the Beishan army. Following the original road to meet the fifth uncle, they began to sprint west. At this time, some of the leaders of the Beishan cottage had realized the arrival of failure, and they actually began to slowly leave the Beishan army array in a single formation, hoping to escape by luck. When the second charge was over, Hua Kai saw that the entire Beishan army had begun to be chaotic. He saw that he was still shooting Beishan master Shui Pan and came to him. Shui Pan, you should take people back to Beishan Yamazai now. Don't let all the bandits have a chance to go back. It will be difficult for us to wipe out them when they return to Beishan. Also pay attention to Donghu. Once you find them entering Beishan, do your best. The resistance space contacted us, and this Beishan will only belong to our Hua family in the future. Hua Kai shouted loudly. Shui Pan received Hua Kai's order and ran towards the west with more than 100 Azure Dragon Corps soldiers. Although Beishan Yema village did not send troops this time, people who did not have Shui Pan left might not be able to quickly take the whole North Hill. When the Azure Dragon Corps rushed through the North Mountain Army for the third time, they had already begun to find the concentrated areas of the enemy to rush. How can ordinary North Mountain bandits be opponents of Azure Dragon Corps soldiers, where Azure Dragon Legion has passed? North Mountain bandits the slain were defeated, and some thieves even knelt on the ground and began begging for mercy. Generally, these Azure Dragon legions would not kill them. When he rushed to the east side of the North Mountain Army again, Wakai saw the North Mountain bandits killed by the Azure Dragon Reserve group retreating quickly. Regardless of this, he organized a fourth rush to the place where the enemy had the most people. The 50,000 North Mountain bandits failed to withstand the fourth assault of the Azure Dragon Legion. They saw that their companions were constantly being killed by hordes of elite cavalry, but they had nothing to do with these cavalry. These cavalry had the sharpest weapons, sturdy armor, the best horses. They are at least a pneumatic cultivation base, which allows them to face the Azure Dragon Legion without the slightest resistance. Seeing the Beishan bandits all fled westward like a tide, the members of the Takaliu merchant group took slaves and chased them with weapons. Such a huge Beishan army was completely defeated in less than 2 hours. For a moment, infinite power seemed to be pouring out of them, and a member of the body tempering realm merchant group was chasing more than a dozen thieves with ordinary wooden guns. When the Azure Dragon Legion rushed through the enemy formation for the 5th time, they saw that the North Mountain bandits had been completely defeated. Hua Zichen began to separate the Azure Dragon Corps. Each brigade manages a section of the area, and everyone uses a small team as a unit to intercept the North Mountain bandits who fled to the west. Looking at the North Mountain bandits being killed or captured, Wakai knew that the battle was almost over. What he was worried about now was the situation in North Mountain. I hope that when the news of the defeat of the North Mountain bandits comes back, Shui Pan can take down the entire North Mountain. This all-round battle was because of Huakai's design to solve the Donghu general, and then turned around and quickly defeated the entire Beishan army. Shui Chen returned in the afternoon. 2,000 Donghu cavalry came to Beishan and Shui Pan led them to fall outside the mountain. The other party finally evacuated after paying hundreds of casualties, and the people in Yamazai had already taken down a big cottage. Now that they have integrated their forces, they have begun to kill other cottages. Because of the Azure Dragon Corps intercepting in front, most of the North Mountain bandits chose to kneel and surrender. The entire battlefield was quickly cleaned up. After the war, Wakai took it in the afternoon. In the victory over the North Mountain bandits, the Azure Dragon Corps' battle damage was completely negligible. Only 2 people were seriously injured and more than a dozen people were slightly injured. No one was killed. The other 50,000 Donghu army was killed by more than 12,000 people. In the end, the number of Chinese prisoners exceeded 30,000 people. In the evening, the support of 2,000 cavalrymen from the Vermilion Bird Legion arrived. They did not catch up with the battle. Huakai asked them to send the captives to Jialiu City first. 3 days later, Wakai stood in the Jialiu merchant group. He saw everyone bowing their heads. Everyone knew that although the North Mountain bandits were defeated, the greater crisis was still behind. The Azure Dragon Corps has gone to the north to entangle with the Donghu army. They must buy another 20 days for the business group. Wamo brought members of the reserve group to Huakai several times in the past few days, hoping that they can cooperate with them. Azure Dragon Corps joins the battle. Wakai didn't agree, but many captains from the other party kept coming to petition. Finally, after discussing with Wushu, he still agreed to the request of the Azure Dragon Reserve Group to let them go north with the Azure Dragon Corps. With more than 7,000 elite Qingqi wearing golden silk soft armor, it will be easier to deal with Donghu's 100,000 army. Wakai also hopes that they can use the Donghu army to train more tactics for the light cavalry. If the Donghu cavalry no longer sends support troops, then the 100,000 Donghu army may not even have half of them left at the Baoyu Pass. Day by day, after a week of hard work, Shui Pan finally conquered all Beishan cottages, and all the cottages. Real control has been in the hands of Yamazai. Many people still don't know that Yamazai is a Chinese power. Shui Pan led Huakai faction. More people go to Beishan. Only when there are sufficient staff, the identity of the Hua family can be brightened in Beishan. At that time, it can be said that Beishan is already the territory of the Hua family. 55%. Chapter 313 System Update. The Azure Dragon Corps and Azure Dragon Reserve Corps had a total of more than 7,000 people. After 5 days of anxiety with the 100,000 Donghu army, the entire Donghu army only marched south for less than 10 miles, but it directly cost nearly 10,000 lives. Azure Dragon Corps and Azure Dragon Reserve Corps have become more and more skillful in cooperation. Each trial attack can cause a lot of casualties to the opponent. If it were placed on the North Mountain Bandits, the morale would have been wiped out. In order to resist the harassment of the Azure Dragon Army, the elites of Donghu Army are busy dealing with it every day. Up to now, all their masters above the aerodynamic level have been mobilized. Without the aerodynamic level, it can only increase casualties for the Azure Dragon Army. The combat power above the border has been worn down by almost half. If they don't want to do anything, they will be worn to death by the Azure Dragon Legion sooner or later. Fortunately, on the afternoon of the 6th day, Donghu reinforcements finally arrived. There are more than 30,000 Donghu elite cavalrymen, plus more than 20,000 ordinary cavalrymen before. If the opposing cavalry number reaches more than 50,000, and the opposing side supports 4 Shantian realms at once, Hua Zichan will not dare to be as casual as before. Harass them. Hua Kai heard the news of the East Lake country's increase in troops, and knew that the other party was determined to enter the Baoyu Pass this time and drive the Hua family out of the northern part of the Baoyu Pass. Because the total number of elite cavalry in East Hu is less than 200,000, they still have to face the border countries. Now there are about 30,000 cavalry in the hands of the Hua family. These 30,000 elite cavalry have almost dimmed the elite in the southern part of East Hu. More than 30,000 elite cavalry can deal with the Azure Dragon Corps non-stop. The opponent also knows that the Azure Dragon Corps has more combat power in the Shantian realm than them, and they are mainly defensive each time. The Azure Dragon Corps tried to attack several times. The opponent's infantry can quickly support it. In this way, walking and stopping for nearly a month, in mid-October, Huakai finally saw the shadow of Donghu Daijin standing on the wall of Baoyuguan. The Jialiu business group had all entered the customs 7 days ago, and they finally returned to Jialiu City this morning. Wufu butlers are waiting outside Jialiu City. This time they need to transport all the horses and half of the cattle and sheep to Huacheng. There are also more than 10,000 slaves bought from the grassland with them. I saw the Azure Dragon Legion wandering around the Donghu army like evil wolves, rushing up to take a bite from time to time. The East Hu army was impatient and sent 10,000 cavalry to respond, and Azure Dragon walked away after a little contact with it, which made the entire East Hu army exhausted. The Azure Dragon Reserve Corps also cooperated with the Azure Dragon Corps, and they kept mobilizing the Donghu army. The East Hu cavalry only had a short distance of 400 miles. After walking in this way for more than a month, they lost more than 20,000 troops, and they also folded their own master. When they finally saw Baoyuguan Pass, many Donghu soldiers suddenly felt like crying. Seeing the arrival of the destination, the Donghu army began to camp on the spot. The Azure Dragon Army and the Reserve Army put down each other when they saw this place, and rode towards the Leopard Yuguan. When the door was closed and opened, Huakai watched Wushu and the soldiers enter in rows. Some young men in the reserve group who were only about 20 years old seemed to have become a lot more calm after several days of fighting. The slave soldiers in the Guan saw here they are sent to the barracks, and then all of them can have a good rest for a while. Huakai is standing on the wall of Baoyuguan. The wall is more than 10 meters high. I don't know if the opponent will feel desperate when he sees it. The arrow towers on the wall are the most harmful weapons to ordinary soldiers. If you want to attack Leopard Jade Guan, I don't know how much blood the East Hu's army would have to shed to have a chance. At this moment, Jialiu City is very lively. Hua Zawan sits on the main seat of Jialiucheng's deliberative hall, and the heads of the 6 major families sit on 2 sides. There are 20 chairs underneath sitting on the 20 most respected seniors in Jialiucheng. Some ordinary family heads can only stand. Peripheral. You may have heard about the foreign affairs of Leopard Yuguan. After the Azure Dragon Army defeated 20,000 elite Donghu cavalry with 3,000 men, it defeated the entire North Mountain Bandit and Bandit coalition, dragging the 130,000 Donghu army to the present day. Only outside the Leopard Jade Pass. After Hua Zawan finished speaking, many people began to whisper. Today, all their caravans have returned. Many families are doing business for the first time. This time their profits are completely beyond their imagination. Some families who originally sent a few carriages symbolically brought back more than 10. Slaves are slowly becoming legal in Jialiu City, and their prices are getting higher and higher. The Leopard Jade matter is resolved by the Freedom White Tiger Corps and Azure Dragon Corps, but our Vermilion Bird Corps must also be prepared to support. Today I will mainly talk about the livestock trade in Jaliu City. All the retail shops in Jaliu City are in charge of Jia's family, but in the situation of our Jaliu County, we still have to make a rule. There is a shortage of new livestock in Jaliu County, and suddenly there are more than 100,000 sheep, more than 40,000 cows, and more than 50,000 horses. The price will definitely be directly reduced. Kare told me about stabilizing commodity prices yesterday. Today, I will discuss with you a reasonable price of livestock. In the future, we will add a price bureau in Jaliu City. The specific person in charge can apply for it. The head of the Hua family is responsible for. Then let's talk about pasture applications. Now basically all families apply for grass grazing. I asked Kair's opinion that all the land in Jaliu County is the property of the Chinese family. How big is each piece of grassland and how much is the cost of using it each year, and how much deposit is needed to sit on? Discuss with everyone. Quote. Hua Zawan presided over the Jaliucheng Temporary Affairs meeting. Today, almost all families will send people, because if the caravan comes back to be converted into money, the Hua family will need to host it, otherwise some big families can eat the bones of the small families. Several discussions didn't take a long time to discuss, and in the end they were all approved. The last grassland lease was used. Everyone's opinion was that 1 acre of grassland would be a bone coin. Hua Zawan had no objection, but in terms of grassland deposits, Hua Zawan is very persistent. If the deposit is too small, wouldn't anyone be able to open a ranch? If you encounter wolves, you can't solve it by yourself. Can all the animals be fed to the wolves? There is also grassland use, and no family can pollute and destroy it. This is us, where everyone will live in the future. If anyone destroys the environment and fails to repair them in time, don't even think about getting these deposits back. Hua Zawan said loudly. The Hua family currently does not directly manage all the affairs of Jaliu City, but its prestige is even higher than when it first came. When Hua Zawan said this, they no longer objected. In the afternoon, the Jaliucheng livestock market posted the prices of cattle, horses, and sheep. Everyone's livestock transactions should not exceed the highest price given by the price department. Then there is an additional livestock purchasing station in the livestock market. If someone sells livestock don't drop, here will be low-priced acquisitions. In this way, all the families in the grassland business can earn more than 4 times the profit even if they are sold at a low price. Some people have also begun to buy livestock at the purchase stations organized by the price department. Some family members go outside Jaliu City, and they can obtain the right to use after paying the grassland gold and lease fee to the Hua family. The 200,000 cattle and sheep entering Jaliu City seems to have never come. The entire Jaliu City is not filled with livestock as everyone imagined. Every day, the family drives the long fleet and livestock with the efforts of new purchases. After leaving Jaliu City, which had only been active for a few days, quickly became what it used to be. Some families even left Jaliu City with all their core members. They plan to focus on animal husbandry in the future. On October 17th, the Donghu army rested outside Baoyu Pass for 3 consecutive days before launching an attack on Baoyu Pass. They just used their bows and arrows to test under the wall. After hundreds of people died, they found that ordinary bows and arrows could not cause too much damage to the White Tiger army on the wall, so they went back to the camp. The Azure Dragon Corps saw that the Army of East, who had built a complete fortification outside the Guan, it has been resting in the barracks inside the Guan, and that night Huakai entered the family secret realm space. System prompt. It is detected that the host family has taken control of the territory Takaliu County, which is recognized by the will of heaven and earth, and rewards family luck with a value of 111,253 points. Found that the system can be updated. Do you want to update? Quote. Hua Kai discovered that there was an update reminder in the system. He didn't know how the Hua family was recognized by the will of heaven and earth, but he found that he could not receive the family luck value without updating, so he chose to update. The host selection system is being updated. Is being updated. The update is complete. Upgrading didn't take up to 3 seconds. Huakai checked the family attributes after the system was updated. Hua family. The 5th rank family recognized by heaven and earth, independent sovereignty. Family luck value ascension speed increased by 20%. Prosperity. 31,095. Combat power. 19,216. Agriculture. 21,397. Animal husbandry. 18,090. Commercial. 20,141. Culture. 1314. Comprehensive strength. 111,253. Allies. Ordos tribe, 4th rank, Yao family, 6th rank, Lu family, 2nd rank, Sihai Chamber of Commerce, 4th rank, Ujamukan tribe, 2nd rank. Affiliated forces. Huang family, 8 rank, Ren family, 8 rank, Jia family, 8 rank, Yi family, 9 rank, Tai family, 9 rank, Yu family, 9 rank. Hostile forces. Donghu Kingdom, 2nd rank, Zhao Guoshan family, 3rd rank, Lindsay City Bu family, 7 rank. Capital. 13 purple gold coins, 82,616 taels of gold, 3,251 taels of silver, and 267,186 bone coins. Luck value. 150,529. Portable space. 6 cubic meters. The family attributes show that the Hua family has become the 5th rank family. This should be the Hua family's victory over the Donghu army this time and occupy the entire Baishan area. Everyone will no longer treat the Hua family as a 7th rank family. The Hua family is now basically separated from the Qi country. Owning the territory does not belong to any country, so the system believes that the Hua family is already a separate force recognized by everyone, so this is an update, but the sentence is recognized by the will of heaven and earth. Sun, Huakai has yet to be studied. 56%. Chapter 314 Wujing Jai New Use. The biggest attribute of the Hua family after the update is that the Hua family is recognized by the system as the 5th rank family, and it says that the family luck value increases by 20%. This is the reason why the Hua family has independent sovereignty. Looking at the family attributes, there hasn't been much change. The prosperity value is naturally the highest attribute of the Hua family. Because of the development of more than 2,000 acres of spiritual land, the agricultural value and animal husbandry value have a total of 200,000 cattle and sheep and more than 40,000 horses in Jialiu County. Disperse. Hundreds of micro and small fixed herding tribes have emerged, and the attributes of farming and herding of the Chinese family have also increased rapidly. The only thing that makes Huakai dissatisfied is the cultural value attribute. This is really the weakness of the Hua family. Although as the strength of the Hua family becomes stronger and stronger, its ascension speed is already very fast, but it is more than 5,000 different from all the attributes of the main mission 8. It's still far. The overall strength of the Chinese family has actually reached the level of the 3rd rank family, because the cultural value cannot reach 5,000 and now it can only be counted as the 5th rank family. In addition to the family attributes, Huakai found that the Ujumchin tribe among the allies of the Hua family was in the final position. The Jia family, Ren family, and Huang family affiliated to the Hua family have been systematically identified as the 8th rank family, which shows that their strength growth is not slow. In the end, Hua Kai's eyes fell on the family luck value. This was the time when the Hua family had the most luck value so far. What a concept is that, more than 100,000. This can already forge an immortal weapon. It's a pity that Huakai doesn't have the material to forge magical artifacts. Even spiritual Qi can only forge one of the lowest level spiritual artifacts. The only place where so many family luck values can be used today is to upgrade the family mentality and martial skill. NS. Hua Kai has not re-ascension family mentality and martial skill for several years. The reason is that family mentality and martial skill require more air luck. He wants to accumulate family luck. Ascension slows down when the air luck is high. He is reluctant to reduce the ascension speed. Now that there is an opportunity to upgrade the family mentality and martial skill, Huakai certainly will not be stingy. Split air gun from intermediate level ascension to high level, it takes 20,000 family fortune points, and from high level to low level requires 50,000 family fortune points. Huakai directly upgrades the family martial skill to heaven level. Low level. 2 upgrades of the new splitting gun method entered Hua Kai's mind. Hua Kai discovered that some of the moves in the last upgrade part of the splitting gun can only be performed when entering the foundation building. And now his willpower has also increased a bit with these 2 perceptions. The 68-point willpower has made his ice power comprehend that there is a lot of ascension, and the foundation building realm is basically the perception of the will of heaven and earth. Huakai uses the Zochin level splitting gun to play the role of foundation building for a short time. Martial skill level ascension, willpower increase, which makes Hua Kai feel that his strength is completely ascension. If he faces the Donghu country horse thieves half-step foundation building landlord by himself, he can at least guarantee the absolute advantage within 20 moves. If the opponent is not solved within 20 moves, he can only run away. Putting his hand on the upgrade button of the Family Mind Method Meditation Ju, Wakai could spend 30,000 or 30,000 family luck values to upgrade Meditation Ju from the elementary level to the advanced level, but in the end he hesitated. Since acquiring the family secret realm space, Huakai's mental skills and martial skill have never been worried. Every time his family mental skills and martial skill are upgraded, his level will be naturally ascension. Since the family mental skills and martial skill are upgraded to the late stage after that, his mental method and martial skill level have always been Dzogchen realm. If you upgrade your mind again, you will surely rise to Dzogchen, but what is the effect if the meditation formula allows others to upgrade? I am now at the SS level, and I don't lack the cultivation base brought by the Ascension family mentality. Thinking of this, Wakai felt that he could give Grandpa a try. Grandpa's qualifications are only A. It is very difficult to enter Shantian. His split air gun level is perfect, but meditation art is only a great success. If you can make him meditation Ju, entering Dachang can make up for some deficiencies in talent, and maybe it will be able to break through. Today, the butler of Wufu was on duty in the family secret realm space, and Wakai asked him to call in Grandpa. After Hua Xing came in, he followed his grandson to Wu Jingjai and saw Wakai lead him to a special light screen. 1. Grandpa, you try to click the family mentality upgrade, can you? Wakai said to Grandpa. Hua Xing didn't think too much, but thought that Wakai was experimenting with him again. He clicked on the Family Mind Method Meditation Ju to upgrade, and Wakai heard a system prompt. System prompt. Hua Xing, the core member of the family, requested to upgrade the Family Mental Method Meditation Ju to the intermediate level. Do you agree? Wakai silently agreed, only to see a huge family luck value flying from the central crystal pillar, injected into the Wu Jingjai upgrade panel. A light flashed through. Wakai did not feel the space to inject itself meditation art comprehension. He feels that Grandpa is in epiphany. After more than 10 minutes, Wakai felt that true chi in his grandfather's body was running fast, and he knew that grandfather might be about to break through. Family secret realm space, there is no true chi in it. After half an hour, Grandpa opened his eyes and Wakai checked his attributes. Hua Xing. Shantian realm first floor. Qualification. A. The will of gold. 1 level 59%. Physique. 52. Strength. 49, 51. Will. 53. Mind method. Meditation technique. Intermediate level mental method consummation. Marksmanship. Split air spear. Intermediate level marksmanship to complete. Loyalty. 100. Check Grandpa's attributes and have entered the first floor of Shantian realm. When he comes out of the family secret realm space to replenish his body Shantian true chi, he is a real Shantian realm. You should leave such a good opportunity to others. Grandpa is old, and it is not worthwhile to occupy such resources in the family. Hua Xing also knew that Wakai gave himself a rare opportunity, and said with some regret. What are you old? You are less than 70 years old, and the life expectancy of Shantian realm is 300 years old. You have not passed a quarter. Wakai said. Watching his grandfather disappear from the Wu Jingjai, Wakai looked at the family attributes and ascension points for 1,100 points. The Hua family now has 12 Shantian realms. Ascension from the elementary level to the intermediate level is the perception built by the middle stage of the Shantian realm. Therefore, Grandpa is directly promoted to Shantian. Now there is another opportunity for the ascension to reach the high level. Wakai is considering whether it is right or not should also be let to others. There is also an opportunity to upgrade the family mentality. This time you can understand the Shantian late stage perception. It seems a bit uneconomical to hand over to the family for the Dzogchen. Considering the future of the family, Huakai decided to leave it to the fifth uncle. Hua Zichen entered Wu Jingjai and changed the meditation Ju from intermediate ascension to advanced ascension. His level is also the first level of ascension. Hua Zichen. Shantian realm 4th floor. Qualification. S. Physique. 54. Strength. 60. Will. 59. Confucianism. Scholars. Taoism. Student. Supernatural powers. Shadow change. The will of gold. Level 1, 100%. Mind method. Meditation tactics, high-level mental methods to complete. Marksmanship. Split air spear, intermediate level marksmanship to complete. Confucian mind method. Righteous Qi Ju Tian level elementary mind method, Xiao Chang. Confucian sword technique. Yongwu sword technique, district intermediate sword technique, Xiaocheng. Taoist mind. Introduction to Tao Te Ching Tian level advanced mind. Loyalty value. 100. The fifth uncle who possesses Babao Knight armor and Tianlongju. True Qi cultivation speed is not comparable to ordinary people. His vigor value exceeds the will value, becoming the highest of the three attributes. Uncle Wu is also slowly undergoing changes. He used to have the highest willpower and pursued instantaneous combat power. Now, as the commander of Azure Dragon Legion, what he needs is long-term continuous endurance. Now his cultivation technique has reached the level of consummation, and True Qi's recovery speed is a lot of ascension. As long as his physique slowly keeps up, his cultivation base will soon reach the Shantian realm great consummation. Watching Uncle Wu leave, Hua Kai checked that the remaining family luck value was 50,000, which could make the family mentality meditation Ju rise to a lower level, but he couldn't leave the family luck value at all. Thinking of upgrading to the realm, Hua Kai decided to save the family luck in the future. As the strongest family member, if he can realize the true Qi change in the foundation building realm ascension is bound to speed up. Leave Wu Jing Jai Huakai to check the family's combat power attributes. There are 11 people in Shantian realm, not counting myself, of which Wu Shu is on the 4th floor of Shantian realm like myself. Tang Lei and Shu Hua are on the 3rd floor of the Shantian realm. On the 2nd floor of the Shantian realm, there are Shui Pan, Hua Peng, and Yu Jun. The remaining 5 people are on the 1st floor of the Shantian realm. There are 42 people in the Zochan realm, and the Hua family has entered a Shantian realm explosion period, which is rare in the general second-rank forces, but the top combat power is only the Shantian realm 4th floor, which is really too low. Huakai got up early the next morning and saw that his family luck value increased by 3,200 points. Although this number was not as fast as the previous growth rate of family luck value of more than 4,000 points per day, the total family luck value is now much higher than before. At this rate, the family luck value may be able to ascension to over 70,000 points after 10 days, and he will be ascension again at that time. Write down the low-level sky-splitting spear and give it to Shui Chen, who is on duty in the space. Hua Kai left the space to find Wu Shu, and asked him to write a copy of the high-level meditation Ju, so that everyone in the family's mindset is in line with each other. Martial skill can be ascension again. Yu Jun approached Hua Kai and said that Dong Hu Guo had already lined up this morning and seemed to be launching a full-scale offensive. Hua Kai came to Guanqiang and saw that they had organized tens of thousands of slave soldiers to attack Baoyuguan. More than a dozen rush carts were protected by thousands of people behind them, and more than 30 ladders were carried by slaves and auxiliary soldiers towards the city wall of Leopard Yuguan. Huakai actually saw more than a dozen catapults on the other side. This is a small simple catapult, but this is not a small trouble for ordinary defenders. There are also many mountains and forests in the north of Donghu country. It is understandable that they can make such siege equipment. It is just that it is basically impossible for an ordinary car to break through the gates of Baoyuguan. The gates of Baoyuguan are all from the same place. The city walls were made of spirit wood from the country, and the walls were also built with stone, with a width of nearly 20 meters. At most, these siege equipment could only make it easier for them to reach the top of the wall. 56%. Chapter 315 Defensive Battle at Leopard Jade Pass. Hua Kai was not surprised at all about the attacking method of the East Hu army. He had taken these into consideration when the Leopard Yuguan wall was built. Now it depends on how the White Tiger Legion performs. When Donghu army approached the Leopard Yuguan city wall for 2 kilometers, the Leopard Yuguan city gate opened wide. Azure Dragon Corps and Azure Dragon Reserve Corps left the customs in rows. They have been rested for a few days. Human karma is too heavy, and he failed to follow the Legion out of the city this time. Seeing that more than 7,000 people from Azure Dragon Corps and Reserve Corps came out of Leopard Jade Pass, Donghu army did not dare to stop them at will. They were okay to defend against Azure Dragon Corps. If an offensive pursuit formation was organized, Azure Dragon Corps could break through any of their attack formations. Strength, so they can only send 3,000 elite cavalry behind the infantry. Hua Zichen took the Azure Dragon Legion and the Reserve Regiment out of the barrier, came behind the Donghu army and did not attack. It seemed that he was just watching the other side perform. However, the Donghu army did not dare to be careless. They led more than 30,000 elite cavalry as close as possible to the infantry formation, while organizing the attack on Leopard Yuguan, while preparing to resist the attack of the Azure Dragon Legion. Although the Azure Dragon Legion is powerful, the number of people is still a small number. The Donghu country has dominated the grassland Donghu for thousands of years. The national culture and fighting will are not weak. It will not be easily taken away by the Azure Dragon Legion, as long as they can break the Leopard Jade. Guan, the entire Jialiu County will open the door for them. What if these light cavalry are more powerful? Many middle-level generals in the East Hu army thought this way. What they expect now is that their slave soldiers can break through the Leopard Jade Pass. If they were before, not to mention 100,000 troops, 5,000 men and horses would be able to open the gate of the Central Plains at will. But seeing today's Leopard Yuguan, they actually lost their confidence. Driven by the Donghu soldiers, the Donghu slaves carried their siege equipment step by step towards Baoyuguan. When they were close to 100 meters away, countless arrows shot down from the arrow tower on the wall, and the Donghu slaves kept falling down. But this could not stop the advance of the East Hu army. Some slave soldiers walked a little bit late, and there were soldiers' whips next to them. If they were not obedient, soldiers would directly meet them with swords and guns. Donghu's treatment of slaves in the grassland is the cruelest. Hua Kai saw those slaves who all had the face of the Central Plains. His eyes stepped towards the wall with no ambition. Some were shot halfway through the poor luck, some were injured and just fell to the ground, and were directly killed by the Donghu soldiers on the side. Fall. They don't want the injured slave to affect their progress. Seeing those Donghu soldiers killing slaves was as simple as killing a sheep. Hua Kai felt a burst of anger spontaneously. These slaves were originally the people of the Central Plains. Now they can only be at the mercy of the Donghu in order to survive. Donghu slave soldiers are to survive, so why not everyone in Baoyuguan? If they are soft-hearted towards these slave soldiers, they would be cruel to their own and cruel to the entire Jialiu County and even Yan, Qi, Dai, Zhao and other Central Plains countries. When the Donghu slave soldiers finally came to Baoyuguan, hundreds of them rushed towards the city gate with a huge assault cart. There were countless boulders falling from the top of the 10-meter-high city gate on Baoyuguan, and a large number of slave soldiers and Donghu soldiers were killed. When they were only 5 meters away from the city wall, hundreds of people were killed or injured, more than 70%. They were surrounded by stones, and countless bows and arrows shot at them on the wall. Donghu army began to brave the arrow rain in the city wall. Go to the boulder on the top to clean up the stone blocking the road ahead. However, Leopard Yu closed the stone and seemed to be able to throw it no matter what. The Donghu slave soldiers had been killed and injured, thousands of them in less than half an hour. At this time, the catapult in the distance began to show off. The stone slings in the distance flew to the Leopard Jade Pass like ordinary artillery shells. Many of them hit the wall and fell under the corner of the wall. Occasionally, some hit the walls and inside of the pass, smashing many houses. The deterrent effect of the catapult is far greater than the actual effect. As long as it does not directly hit a person, it is basically not a threat to the aerodynamic environment. Hua Kai saw the captains of the White Tiger Corps commanding the battle on the wall, while telling the soldiers how to deal with catapult attacks. They are all professional city defenders. These common catapult response methods have long been memorized, although it's the first time I saw it. Countless slaves began to rush towards the Leopard Yuguan wall with a ladder. The Donghu army slings still did not stop. Leopard Yuguan. Several soldiers from the White Tiger Corps used long poles to push out the ladder on the Leopard Yuguan wall, some of which were only halfway up. The slave soldiers can only choose to jump the ladder. Hua Kai stood motionless on the wall. A stone with a big head flew from a distance, and the landing point was exactly where he was. Hua Kai held the gentian gun and stabbed the flying stone, and the stone touched Dragon Bile Spear. The tip of the spear turns into powder, and ordinary stones cannot withstand Shantian-level true chi. There were shouts and killings outside the barrier wall. Facing the flying stones, the captains of the White Tiger Corps above the aerodynamic stage were busy picking up the stones. The soldiers lowered their heads on the barrier wall to fight the enemy who was climbing the ladder. The slave soldiers of Baoyuguan were also very busy. They transported stones from the armament warehouse to the wall. There were wounded or dead soldiers, and they also took care of them in time. Therefore, although there are only 1,000 White Tiger Legion soldiers fighting on the wall, there are more than 3 times as many people assisting them. The battle lasted for more than 4 hours. The Donghu army had not attacked the Leopard Jade Pass. They left more than 10,000 corpses and began to choose to retreat. The Leopard Jade Pass seemed to fight fiercely, but the loss was very small, with 3 people. The soldier was killed by a catapult, and nearly 100 soldiers were injured, most of which were lightly wounded. Compared with the White Tiger Corps, the loss of the slaves is still not small. More than a dozen of them were killed by catapults, and the number of injured exceeded 300. The main reason was that they had to go up and down the walls to carry supplies, and they were most likely to be broken by falling stones. The block sputtered. Azure Dragon Corps and Reserve Corps have been outside the barrier until the end of the battle, and they didn't take any action. As long as they stood here, it was already very useful. Seeing that all the East Hu cavalry returned to their own camp one by one, the Azure Dragon Legion and the reserve group no longer entangled with each other, and they returned to the Leopard Jade Pass together. As soon as the Azure Dragon Corps left, Wakai saw the Donghu army split a 100-man team towards the east side of Baoyuguan. Will their team of hundreds ask Donghu for help again? Do you want me to take someone to kill them? Hua Zichen said when he saw the departure of the hundreds of Donghu in the distance. You don't need it. It's already mid-October. Winter is coming in less than a month. If Donghu wants to expand the scale of the war, it must send most of the elite. Now they don't have that time. Besides, look at the 100 soldiers, are they all full of kettles? They are running out of water, they are going to fetch water. Hua Kai said as he looked at the Donghu cavalry who was leaving in the distance. The core area of Donghu country is 1,000 miles away from Baoyuguan. The biggest supply problem for each hunting southward is water. Soldiers can eat jerky early, but people have to drink water along the way, and horses also drink water. The daily water consumption of 100,000 people is not a small amount. There is a small river 2 miles east of Leopard Yuguan, presumably they went there to fetch water. Looking back at Donghyangzai, Wakai couldn't help but an idea appeared in his mind when he looked at the sky. In order to resist the raid by the Azure Dragon army, the Donghu army built the camp on a 500-acre low hill. All their tents are close together. If they use fire to attack, it is very easy for them to burn the camp, and the Leopard Jade Pass is on the south side of the Donghu army camp. This season, the wind usually blows from the north. Huakai carefully checked the layout of the Exia Donghu army camp, and knew that there was a shortage of water in the Donghu army camp. This fire attack method could be tried. Just do what he said. Huakai asked Azure Dragon Reserve Group to rob the Donghu water team, and he and Wushu began to discuss how to attack the Donghu army camp. For 3 consecutive days, the Donghu army relied on the slave soldiers and the Baoyuguan guards to consume. It seemed that they wanted to consume all their arrows, rolling logs, and stones. However, Huakai prepared defensive materials at the Baoyuguan, even if the Donghu army attacked. 10 days and a half months, the Leopard Yuguan materials may not be exhausted. In 3 days, the Donghu army's water fighting team was robbed and killed by the Azure Dragon Reserve Group many times. In order not to be led too far by the Azure Dragon Reserve Group, the elite cavalry did not dare to abandon the infantry and went too far, so this afternoon when the troops were closed, several Shantian people from the East Hu army couldn't help but quarrel together. The Leopard Jade Pass is no longer the old Leopard Jade Pass. The 10-meter high wall is too difficult for them to climb. In 3 days of siege, more than 20,000 slave soldiers were sacrificed, but they did not even climb the top of the wall. Got it. These slaves had only one role in the defense of the Leopard Jade Pass, which was to consume the opponent's city defense materials. As a result, their arrows, rolling stones, and stones have not been reduced at all. Then, if you want to obtain a breakthrough, let Donghu soldiers come by themselves. It's almost the end of October, they can't afford it. The drinking water in the camp was almost running out these days. The elite cavalry of the enemy army looked at them. If they wanted to get the water, they might have to go to the river to be absolutely safe. They had all seen the strength of the elite cavalry of the enemy army. Some Donghu generals felt that they should send their main force to attack the Baoyuguan wall tomorrow. As long as they can break through the checkpoint, all problems will be solved naturally. Some people think that the camp should now be moved to the river. The Leopard Jade Pass is completely different from before. They need to get to know each other slowly and then look for suitable siege opportunities. After all, they still have about 80,000 soldiers. There is no problem in taking down a Leopard Jade Pass that is only 500 meters wide. Just as they were quarreling, a soldier suddenly ran in. General, Leopard U closed the door and opened it, and the other elite cavalry has left again. 56%. Chapter 316 Burning Donghu Camp. After the little soldiers had finished speaking, the Shantians of the East Hu army heard a noise from the southern part of the camp. The other elite cavalry was killed so quickly. As a result, several Shantian people ran out of the camp and organized elite cavalry to rush to support. They found that there were only more than 200 people on the other side. The other side had BMWs under each crotch, and they could enter their camp with one jump. When Donghu Shantian realm came with the elites, the other party evacuated directly. The other party had 8 Shantian realm Donghu generals and they dared not chase after the other side left, watching them withdraw from Donghu camp. After they returned to the camp, they had just unloaded their armor, but the off-the-book soldiers reported that it was the leopard Yuguan elite who had attacked and killed them again. They hurriedly put on their armor and let their hands go down and led their own war horses. The Azure Dragon army came to the opponent's camp again, and then quickly withdrew without hesitation. It seemed that it was just a little bit that wasted the opponent's patience. This is really annoying. More than 200 people from the other side are riding BMWs in the training aura, and 8 Shantian people or a horse. This new family in Jialiu County is really rich, and they break into me every time. In the military camp, we kill hundreds of people at a time. If this continues, sooner or later, our slave soldiers will be killed by them. And Donghu Shantian said angrily. More than 200 people riding a BMW in the air training environment, entering any of their camps, no horse rejection pits, and no horse stakes are of no use to them. Even if a few of them catch up with them, they cannot kill a BMW riding person in a short time. They did not have the slightest way to deal with such a surprise attack on the leopard Yuguan in the Qi state. Several Donghu generals waited at the camp for an hour. After discussing for a long time, they did not figure out a way to deal with it. When they had just left, the city gate of Leopard Jade Pass opened again. It was also the more than 200 elite cavalrymen who broke into Donghu University. There was a big killing in the camp, and Donghu Zhang Shantian couldn't watch them kill. When he got up and came back, Wakai and others had already left. After 3 raids, Wakai saw that the East Hu army finally made adjustments. They moved all the slave barracks on the south side of the camp to other places. Place 20,000 elite cavalry in the center, so that their camp area is only 300 acres in size, which can be described as crowded for an 80,000 army camp. This was the only way for the East Hu's army to reduce the Azure Dragon's elite raids. Seeing the enemy's changes on the wall, Hua Zichen finally smiled. "K, you are still the smartest. Tonight, the wind is heading north. As long as we break into Donghu camp, we will be able to burn all of them directly. We have won this battle again," Hua Zichen said happily. "It's not too early to be happy. We will have to harass you later. You send someone to inform Wamo and ask them to retreat 20 miles north to gather with us at night. I want a Donghu soldier not to escape." Hua Kai looked at the position of the king's court in the northern part of the grassland and whispered. In the evening, the Azure Dragon Corps began to harass Donghu camp again. This time, the other party responded promptly. Hua Zichen and others just killed less than 100 Donghu soldiers and then withdrew. The generals of Donghu all saw that the own arrangement finally had an effect, one by one complacent. At night, Wuzhong Donghu heard another noise in the southern part of the camp, and he was already a little impatient. The off-the-book soldier informed that a large number of elite cavalry from the enemy army had attacked. He walked out of the camp and looked east, and saw a burst of fire in the camp. His heart was instantly squeezed. "Quickly, don't let the tent burn. Just go and organize people to put out the fire." Donghu Wuzhong shouted, and when he finished speaking, he found that there were more and more areas on fire in the southern camp tent, and soon the entire southern camp became fierce. Over 600 people of Huakai and Azure Dragon Corps broke into the camp of Donghu army at night. Although many of these 600 people rode horses, their masters were all in the Qi state, and they followed with true Qi. Behind the BMWs, they soon occupied a large area of Donghu camp. Huakai rode the black sculpture with Baoguang glass bottle in his hand and flew quickly over the camps in the southern part of Donghu. Blowing by the wind, the entire East Hoing village is rapidly burning. Seeing that more than 30% of the entire Donghu Yingzai area had burned, and with the help of the north wind, it was spreading to the entire camp. Huakai found the elite Azure Dragon Corps who were still setting fire and drove north from the camp with them. Everyone in Donghu camp was busy fighting the fire, but they had nothing to put out the fire. In order to escape, they ignored the orders of their superiors and all fled outside the camp. Dongyingzai has fallen into a sea of flames. Huakai and more than 600 elite Azure Dragon Legion stood 10 miles north of the Sea of Fire. They were still shocked by the ferocity of the fire. Countless slaves and soldiers of Donghu who reacted slowly were buried in the Sea of Fire. The entire Donghu camp is over. Now is not the time to be merciful. Let's join Wamo first. If they are not completely wiped out, they will come to Leopard Yuguan to find opportunities to rob and plunder. Hua Zichen came to Wakai and patted lightly. He lowered his shoulder and said. The Huakai people walked more than 10 miles north, and the East Hoing village in the distance was still burning. Under the bright moonlight, he saw a group of cavalry approaching them in the distance, and he walked in to see that it was Wamo and other members of the Azure Dragon Reserve Corps. Everyone quietly watched the burning fire. The grassland in October has not yet reached the fire period, so it is unlikely that the fire will spread. Wakai saw the fire spreading northward for several miles and gradually became smaller. Only to feel at ease, otherwise his guilt would be serious. Not long after waiting, Wakai heard a group of chaotic cavalry rushing towards them in the distance, and he mounted his horse to organize everyone to start chasing. It has been half a month since the defensive battle at Baoyuguan. Huakai was riding on the Black Eagle standing on the grounds of the Baoyuguan school. Behind him were 1,000 Azure Dragon soldiers. In that battle, the Wahia fire attacked an 80,000 army in Donghaingzai, burning a total of more than 15,000 opponents. The remaining more than 5,000 severely burned were killed by soldiers from the White Tiger Corps on the spot, and the remaining 60,000 eventually became home prisoner of war. The prisoners of war were kept outside the Leopard Jade Pass for 10 days, and the Azure Dragon Corps soldiers gave them ideological and political lessons every day. As a result, in the past 10 days, most people had a loyalty value of more than 0, and some slave soldiers had even reached 40 loyalty points. However, there are still half of the prisoners of war slaves below 0 o'clock, and there has been a large number of slaves in recent years. Every few days, Huakai singled out some of the lowest loyalty points and killed them directly. Most of these were the big murderers. By the 10th day, more than 4,000 of the 60,000 prisoners of war had been killed, and all the prisoners of war were loyal. More than 40. Among them, 10,000 with the best qualifications are selected. Huakai intends to send them to Weisung City, and let the Vermilion Bird Corps send all the rest to Jialiu City, and then let the fourth uncle send another 5,000 slaves purchased from the grassland, and Leopard Yuguan defends. The facilities need to be strengthened. After this battle, the Azure Dragon Corps is already flourishing in Takayanagi County and the surrounding area. Seeing that Azure Dragon is ready to meet the increasing number of people entering the official corps, Huakai plans to expand the Azure Dragon Corps to 5,000. The Azure Dragon Corps has 5,000 people and the Azure Dragon Reserve Corps has 3,000 people. It will not change for a long time in the future. Because many people in the Legion have very high karma this time, Huakai and the Azure Dragon Legion Shantian decided after discussion, the Wahia Military Academy will be divided into 2 types in the future. One is the Winter Academy for a total of 5 months. At this time, Jialiu County generally does not what dangers will be encountered. Azure Dragon Corps will select 1,000 members to study at Wahia Military Academy. The selection method is the captain's recommendation and self-recommendation. For this 1,000 places, the entire Azure Dragon Corps large, medium and small captains discussed together for nearly 10 days, because everyone knows the importance of entering the military academy. The 3 Shantian realms of Azure Dragon Corps broke through in the military academy, and there are many people who break through to the Chi training realm, and some even understand power of will, and more importantly, it can help them reduce their karma. For 10 days, Hua Zichin had difficulty making a choice, because this winter training is very important to everyone. In the end, there is no way. All the brigade, squadron, and squadrons have the opportunity to choose. It still depends on their own military achievements. The winter training is determined, and the summer training is divided into 3 phases, each 1 month, and each training only has 500 people. In this way, when the prairie wolves are wiped out in the spring, the strength of the Azure Dragon Corps can be guaranteed for the attack in the direction of the prairie in autumn. Wakai took 1,000 Azure Dragon Corps soldiers to Weisung, while Hua Zichin took 4,000 Azure Dragon Corps soldiers to Beishan, leaving only more than 2,000 Azure Dragon Reserve soldiers in Leopard Yuguan every year. At this time, the Leopard Jade Pass is generally no longer dangerous. Hua Zichin led the Azure Dragon Corps to Beishan in order to consolidate the Hua family's control of Beishan. In the future, the Jialiu business group will go to the grassland for business without the protection of soldiers. The business road from Baoyuguan to Linehuguo has been completely opened up. The Wahia can rely on Beishan and Baoyuguan to establish a horn, and jointly fight against Donghu. Threat from the country. On November 1st, Huakai returned to Huacheng with 1,000 Azure Dragon Legion Academy. There are already more than 20 students and students from various schools in the Heavenly Horse Field. All of them are Hua Zichin from Jixia. The gentleman hired by the academy, because Huacheng wanted to build a military academy, Huakai sent more than 20 people. More than 1,000 students, Huakai would definitely not be able to teach. Since it is a military academy, there must be a lot of things to learn. Based on the memory deep in his mind, Huakai listed a series of ideological training methods suitable for this world, and then coupled with the basic literary knowledge of this world, it is necessary to train all the soldiers of the Azure Dragon Legion into both civil and military talents. Randomly divide 1,000 Azure Dragon Corps soldiers into 10 classes, each with the highest loyalty value as the class leader, and then select 9 class members to be the leader. Here everything is not based on strength. Huakai's important purpose: it is still necessary to train the Azure Dragon Corps to be loyal to the Chinese family forever, and to be loyal to own ideas and habits. 56%. Chapter 317 3 Layers Ice Will. This time Huakai fought at Leopard Yuguan for nearly 2 months. There were no 1,000 or 800 dead enemies in his hands. He could already feel the restlessness and instability in his heart. This restlessness was not caused by true qi, nor was it coming from the spirit. It seems that a special kind of energy puts a silk screen on the distance between himself and the world, which makes him unusually uncomfortable. The stronger the strength and the weaker the willpower, the higher the karmic influence. The existence of karma is basically not felt below the Kaiyuan realm, and the feeling will be very obvious when you reach the pneumatic realm of Dzogchen. In the evening, Huakai entered the family secret realm space to check the family attributes. After the Donghu camp was burned, although they won a big victory, they only got more than 5,000 points of luck in the end. However, after defeating the Donghu army, the Wajachi luck value began to increase rapidly, and the family luck value has now reached 96,000 points. There is no problem with this number upgrading the family mentality. Entering Wu Jingjai, Huakai decided to complete this mental upgrade and understanding by himself. The biggest shortcoming of the family today is the lack of high-end combat power. If he can enter the Shantian realm late stage or even half-step the foundation building, it is relatively foundation. He can also have the power of a battle in the building environment. Click to upgrade the family mind method meditation art. Huakai's consciousness seems to have entered a peculiar space. The power of countless rules of will in the void is erratic, and true qi in his body operates according to the meditation art mental method. 5 elements power entering his internal organs. His body is being continuously strengthened by the power of 5 elements. The power of 5 elements is mutually restrained and gradually enters a balance. However, the other power of will in Haodian's earth wanders in his body, supplementing 5 elements. With the balance of the power of elements running, Huakai has slowly gained a sense of understanding. This is the internal heaven and earth circulation of the foundation building realm. All the power of the will of heaven and earth merge to form a new balance, and the ice will in his body occupies the theme, and the other power of will are all around the ice will running, making the power of the rules in his body reach a balance. Huakai saw ice will continue to grow in this void. When it grew to a certain extent, it seemed to have entered a bottleneck. Huakai continued to operate in accordance with the new true qi operation path of meditation art, and suddenly felt ice will. It seems that some rules have been broken. New things have emerged in his will, and some other heaven and earth will powers have begun to raging in his body. I don't know how long it took. Huakai's consciousness was completely immersed in the comprehension of the rules of ice will, and now he finally knew the difference between strong and weak will power. Take ice will as an example. The first level is the initial understanding of ice force, which initially forms a regular cycle in the body, which is also one of the necessary conditions for entering the foundation building realm. The first layer of ice will can be used to enhance the own attack, so that the own attack can add a certain rule of power, so that the attack power can get ascension, and if it encounters the attack of the power of will, the power of the will will automatically resist. It can be said that the Shantian realm who understands the power of will can at least double the strength of ascension. The second layer of willpower can produce certain special effects after strengthening the characteristics of the first layer of willpower. For example, Golden will understands the second layer, the effect of attacking armor appears, and the general armor encounters basically know what effect does it play. Fires will with burning, soils will with physical strength, true qi recovery, and so on. Huakai's ice will shows the effect of slowing down and reducing the enemy's reaction when it reaches the second level. But now he feels that his own ice will has become stronger and more complicated, and his role in ice force has become easier, and how to deal with it will be studied slowly in the future. Slowly opening his eyes, Huakai felt the changes after the upgrade of meditation Ju. True qi runs faster than before and runs more complicated. Ascension of the Wahia mind method has reached the heavenly level. This is a big deal, but there are also downsides. It is not so easy to comprehend the heavenly mentality. Even if someone personally guides it, the Chinese family will have the foundation building level mentality in the future. In this world, the heavenly mentality is the symbol of the great family. Open the own property panel. Huakai. 6th floor of Shantian realm. Qualification. SS. Physique. 56. Strength. 61. Will. 67. Xuanbing wool. 3rd level 3%. Resistance. Intermediate cold ice antibody 37%. Novelist. Everyone. Confucianism. Everyone. Taoism. Everyone. Mind method. Meditation Ju Tian level low level mind method great perfection. Marksmanship. Split air spear low level spearmanship of the heavenly rank great perfection. Saber technique. 18 swords yellow rank advanced saber technique complete. Mind method novelist the basic skills of copywriting the low level mental method of heaven is great. Special mind method. Big dream ideas God level Xiao Chang. Special skill. Real eye cannot be upgraded. Therefore, the perception of mind upgrade is much greater than Huakai expected. Not to mention the level 6 of the Shantian realm, his vigor and willpower have ascension, and more importantly, his ice will has been upgraded to 3 floors. Huakai raised his hand, and a white frost mist appeared in his hand. Ice will can be upgraded to the 3rd level to use the ice power of heaven and earth in a small amount. He can use ice force release about 3 inches from the body, so that he can get ascension in both melee combat and defense. Ice force ascension reaches the 3rd floor, Huakai's combat power has risen substantially. If he encounters the half-step foundation building of the Donghu Master again, he is confident to defeat it. At the same time, this meditation Ju breakthrough perception has reduced his own karma a lot, and now it does not affect his normal cultivation, which makes his whole person feel a lot easier. On the 2nd day, Huakai came to the Hua Family Military Academy. After 2 months of construction, although the Hua Family Military Academy has not yet been completed, it is ready for use. As one of the trainees, Tang Lei was appointed by Huakai as the monitor of the first training class. He and 9 other monitors organized his class together and were waiting for Huakai's arrival at the school. Entering the Wahia Military Academy may become one of your most valuable treasures in life. All classes need to strictly follow their own class schedule. During the training period, whether it is in the Shantian or pneumatic state, all are worthy of classmates. Get up at 6 o'clock every day to wash, run for half an hour in the morning at 6:30, and then practice martial skill for an hour. After breakfast, enter the classroom at 8 o'clock for 3 periods, eat at 12 noon, take a lunch break, practice writing for 2 hours at 3 o'clock. I will give everyone an ideological education class at 4 o'clock, enter the meditation room at 6 o'clock for 1 hour, and then at 7 o'clock. Everyone own time. Everyone was not allowed to leave Weisung. After being found out, they were expelled from the Azure Dragon Corps. They stayed in Weisung for 3 years and were not allowed to go out. Every 4 days of study, you can take a day off, and you can't leave Weisung for 6 days off during the Chinese New Year holiday. Did you hear that? Quote. Huakai stood on the battlefield and yelled, and all the students understood when they heard it. When the students were selected, they knew that Weisung was a secretly established city by the Weisung family. No one could disclose information about Weisung in any way, otherwise they would be severely punished. After Huakai finished his speech, he and all the trainees started a morning jog. The morning jog is not very fast, but a long morning jog exercise can help everyone develop a collective consciousness, which is very important in the collective charge of the cavalry. After the morning run is the following martial skill practice. The battlefield has a variety of weapons for all students to practice, but the guns still occupy more than 90% of them. Most of them hold own weapons for morning exercises, and Huakai holds Genshin gun demonstrate at the forefront, and teach everyone the contents of the promotion of meditation technique and splitting gun. After the morning exercise, Huakai left. The students have breakfast and go to class. Wahia Military Academy there will be monthly end-of-month examinations every month. Test results will determine their resource allocation in the academy and affect their future. Promotion and development in Azure Dragon Corps. Huakai's life in Weisung became more rhythmic. Morning exercises with everyone every morning, correcting mistakes for the soldiers, and finding someone loyal to break into the family list. Let him come to his yard in the afternoon or on weekends, and let them enter the family secret realm space trial. In the morning, he enters the stables and selects some horses that can be upgraded, so that they can be marked, and then he upgrades the horses every day. There are more than 30 BMWs brought back from the Ordos tribe this year, and only 2 of them are expected to be upgraded. Huakai successfully promoted one of the two BMWs to a magical horse, while the other was stuck in the bottleneck and failed to make a breakthrough. Then the horses he upgrades every day are mainly steeds. Every day, the steeds are successfully upgraded. Grandpa and the Wafu steward will also bring horses into the family secret realm space trial every day, but Huakai found that they have a better chance of being promoted to horses. I am much smaller. On November 14th, there was a light rain in the sky. This winter seems to be extremely cold. After a busy day, Ling Tian checked the growth of Ling rice seedlings and waited home after 10 o'clock in the evening. After dinner, Huakai entered the family secret realm space. In the past few days, with the help of Azure Dragon Core, various cottages in Beishan are gradually taking control of the entire Beishan cottage. Patriarch, I have made statistics for the cottages in Beishan according to your request. The entire population of Beishan is about 260,000, of which the elderly, women, and children occupy the majority. Many of these people have lived here for generations. I have never left the Beishan area in my entire life, and some people have been looted. What should we do with these people? Shui Pan said when he saw Huakai. If you are willing to leave, let them go. The rest have to enter life, send them to Jialiu City. If you don't want to leave, disrupt them and rearrange them, don't let them stay in their original cottage again. If anyone is disobedient, they will directly suppress it. Huakai thought for a while and said. If so, I think many people are reluctant to stay in Beishan anymore. After all, these people want to go to Central Plains the most. By then, there may not be half of Beishan left, and many of these people are under pressure. Only to follow us, there should be a lot of people who want to confront us in private. To completely control Beishan, the family has to send tens of thousands of talents. Shui Chen said. 56%. Chapter 318 The present situation of Jiaoyan County, seeking a monthly pass. People around Shui Pan couldn't help but shook their heads after hearing what Shui Pan said. Many people who can go to Beishan to be thieves do it for their own comfort. Give them a chance. If they want to stay in Beishan, they have to obey the control. In this way, a notice is issued in Jialiu City. For all families willing to settle in Beishan, Kaiyuan Realm will reward 5 bandit tenants in 10 acres of mountainous land, and Pneumatic Realm will give 100 acres of mountainous land. The 50 bandit tenants are rewarded. In addition to the 500 bandit tenants in the 1,000 mu mountainous area, Jialiucheng will also provide assistance in the construction of the village, and Jialiucheng will be responsible for all resources and manpower. Huakai stood up and said. After the Hua family moved to Jialiu County, about 12,000 family members were separated. Most of them were of Kaiyuan realm strength. Some chose to join the army. Most of them can only work in Jialiu City. I don't know how many people will be after this announcement. Hard moved, the family moved to Beishan. K. Directly give everyone the right to build a village. Let's just send out the land easily. This way, not only our old homes, but many small families in Jialiucheng will be heart-shaped. Although Beishan belongs to the branch of Dongling, but there are at most a few wolves there. There are no savage beasts and demonic beasts. Now that Beishan is in our hands, we can use Beishan as a jumping point and make a lot of money in the Linhu grassland. Hua Zichen heard Huakai said and hurried out. Soundtrack. I know the importance of Beishan. But the area is too big for us to grasp at all. We will send some loyal to stand the test to establish a 100 village alliance, and all the villages will discuss and make decisions together. Our Chinese family will send a core member. We went to Beishan to take charge of work. From now on, our family will move from Qiguagong County Jialiu County Beishan Ordos Tribe Wujumukan Tribe. A total of 5 strongholds will be located in Jialiu County on the border of the Central Plains. Half of the goods in the entire grassland will be we control it. Huakai said here, everyone can't help but feel that the development of a family requires many aspects. Just blindly developing strength, in the end can only become everyone's enemy. Speaking of this, no one objected anymore. According to Hua Zawan's general statistics, since the 5,000 soldiers who built the Great Wall to protect the people of Yan State in the northeast of Jialiu County returned to Jialiu City a few days ago, the proportion of Jialiu City's population has now undergone major changes. The first is the population of the Hua family. Since the shift of focus to Huacheng, the population of the Hua family in Jialiucheng is only about 20,000. This includes all branches, retainers, generals, and family members of the Hua family. In addition, there are a total of more than 80,000 prisoners of war here who are building Jialiu City. They belong to the Hua family, and now they only work for the Hua family to make money. In addition, the total population of the 6 major families is about 40,000, and the total population of ordinary families is more than 20,000. In addition, they brought back more than 30,000 slaves from the grasslands this year, and their total population has exceeded 90,000. This is not an ordinary person without a family. Ordinary people are mainly composed of 4 parts: the families eliminated by the Chinese family, the refugees brought back from Guangxian, the families and tribes eliminated by the family, and thousands of people who originally belonged to Jialiu City. The number of these civilians is also about 30,000. In this way, the total population of Jialiu City has actually exceeded 220,000, of which slaves and prisoners of war accounted for half of the number. Among these 220,000 people, more than 50,000 people have formed hundreds of nomadic tribes scattered throughout Jialiu County this year. If tens of thousands of people are determined to relocate to Beishan this year, the population of Jialiu City can still remain within the Huakai regulations, within the range of 150,000. Now our city has a total population of about 170,000. When Beishan is digested, our total population will exceed 400,000. With such a population base, we can do more. The number of Chinese slaves and prisoners of war exceeded 100,000, which is obviously too high. This winter, we will conduct ideological education on all slaves and prisoners of war. After the beginning of spring next year, I will do some inspections on all prisoners of war and slaves. Those who are loyal and qualified will be released from slavery or recruited as family members. Those who are unqualified will be treated according to their loyalty value. They are divided into 3rd level, and then we will determine the rights and obligations of different levels of slaves. Hua Kai said to everyone. At this time, it was time to gather at night. Everyone entered the family secret realm space and saw Hua Kai come to him and listened silently. Slave reform has always been the key work of the Hua family, and it seems that this work has to be continued. Huakai communicated with everyone about the affairs of his area. Shui Chen's Ordos tribe now supports some affiliated tribes, and they are inextricably linked with the major tribes of Donghu country. On the other hand, he makes a lot of money through the Hua family and develops his own strength. On the other hand, it has attracted a group of tribes through goods transactions. Now the number of people in the Shantian state of the Ordos tribe has reached 7. The entire Xiongnu kingdom has been divided into 2 parts. The Ujumchin tribe was completely different from the Ordos tribe. After their strength became stronger, they quickly controlled the entire Dayu kingdom, and then launched an attack on the Xiaoyu kingdom. In just 2 months, the large area of grassland in the northern part of the Xiaoyu kingdom was occupied by the Dayu kingdom. It seems that the Dayu kingdom did not have much difficulty in taking the Xiaoyu kingdom. The key is to see how Lin Hu responded to the Dayu kingdom. Country's expansion. Oh, Xiaoyu's country also has own cards. By then, it is basically impossible for Dayu's country to completely eliminate Xiaoyu's country. Next year, they will definitely take the Xiaoyu's country in one go, and then Lin Huguo will focus on the future. Putting it on the Dayu kingdom, the Yichu kingdom family would be quickly suppressed by the Qin kingdom without the help of the grassland countries. The environment of the Dayu kingdom will definitely get worse and worse. It's really a good game to make him go to the worst. Hua Kai couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Now the mood of the war within the Ujumukan tribe is getting higher and higher. Everyone thinks that it is easy to win the Xiaoyu country, and Lin Huguo will not be their opponent. Many people have already targeted the Chang people. The disagreement between Princess Tuya and Patriarch Ujumukan has spread in the Dayu clan, and now there are voices supporting Princess Yurantuya to succeed the throne. The entire Dayu clan has one word: chaos. Kay said. Some things cannot be completely controlled by us. You should have less contact with Patriarch Ujumukan in the future. Support Princess Yurantuya to control more voice, and quietly accumulate strength for Princess Yurantuya. Huakai said. I know that Princess Yurantuya will marry our Hua family sooner or later. We only trade with Princess Yurantuya. Otherwise, Princess Yurantuya will not be able to have such a powerful strength so soon. Let Shui Chen come to the Ujumchin tribe in the beginning of spring next year. Now there are too many affiliated tribes of the Ujumchin tribe. As long as we have enough goods, we can earn more elixir, animal bones, and fur, let alone Warentu. Princess Ya's power will grow stronger and stronger, Zhuang said. It can only be said that Patriarch Ujumukan thought that he was too strong. Without the support of the Chinese family, he would be regarded as the largest tribe in the Dayu kingdom. Seeing that he had the right to trade in commodities and that more tribes took refuge in him, he let him go. I thought I could dominate the grassland. Not to mention the Qin, even the Chang nation is not something that the Dayu nation can provoke. If they can tolerate 5 years of silent development, when the group of highly qualified members grow up, maybe they really have the strength to defeat the Chang. In the end, as long as you don't provoke the Central Plains first-rank family, dominating the grassland is not a problem. After the family space meeting was held, everyone was considering who should be sent to Beishan. Today, the Hua family includes 11 core members of Huakai. Zhuang and Shui Chen are in the grassland. The third uncle Hua Ziji is in Guangxian. Yu Jun and Hua Zawan cannot move. Hua Zichen is the commander of the Azure Dragon Legion. The father Hua is left. Xing, the housekeeper Hua Fu, the second master Hua Zili and Shui Pan are 4. Let me go to Beishan. Hua Xing said at this time. Hua Xing also knows the importance of Beishan. As long as he firmly controls Beishan, the Hua family will control this precious trade route. Grandpa, if you stay in Weisung, don't move for now. The military academy will depend on you. The importance of Shui Pan in the Azure Dragon Corps is self-evident. Uncle, you should go to Beishan. Hua Kai turned his head and said. No one expected that Huakai would finally send Wazi to Beishan. Since the incident with Shen Yueru, Wazili's influence in the Hua family has become weaker and weaker. Although he is one of the core members of the family, he has not been in the core of power. I did not expect Huakai to arrange him this time. Second uncle. Wazili felt a little excited. Now even his own son has become the head of the Azure Dragon reserve team. All the core members of the family are alone in charge, and he is the only one who manages all day in Jialiu City. Family slave. Our second uncle in business is the most talented person. Tomorrow you will take 1,000 family members to Beishan. In the future, Beishan needs to establish a commodity exchange base. At the same time, we need to study the entire Beishan area clearly. How should we retreat to the deep mountains in the south? I will give you 10,000 loyal and reliable slaves in the spring of next year, and then the entire Beishan will be handed over to you. Hua Kai looked at his second uncle Wazili and said. Don't worry, Kair, I will definitely show you Beishan and don't let anyone snatch it from me. Tomorrow I will take your second aunt, cousin and family servant to Beishan. Wazili told Huakai promised. On the second day, Shui Pan spread the news to all the cottages in Beishan. As Shui Pan expected, many people wanted to enter life in the leopard Yuguan, and few people chose to leave alone. They have all begun to prepare for entry into the customs next year, and those who choose to stay have also begun to communicate with some well-connected people. Unfortunately, their tricks will only turn into jokes in the end. Wazili also took thousands of secret family and servants and set off from Jialiucheng. Last night, Huakai and his second uncle Wazi had a chat for more than 2 hours. This morning Wazili was like a new student and stayed in Jialiucheng for a moment. I can't help but take 10 special level family members, 101st level family members, and 892nd level and 3rd level family members, leaving early in the morning in a hurry. 57%. Chapter 319. In December, there was heavy snowfall in the sky, and this time it was nearly 10 days. The snow at the foot of Huacheng Mountain was more than 1 meter thick, and the sheep did not dare to leave the sheepfold. Such a heavy snowfall has been rare in 10 years. Jialiu County has just brought back 200,000 cattle and sheep from the grassland this year. This heavy snow has caused many families to suffer. Huakai wakes up early in the morning and communicates with Consciousness Heavenly Horse Field. All the snow melts quickly and flows along the creek and canals to the top of the mountain. Came to a stable in the Heavenly Horse Field Shenju district, where the 6 horsemen looked after Huakai's 2 horses. He came to Luma, and the other side happily rubbed his head against Huakai's chest, and Black Eagle shouted in dissatisfaction. Hua Kai comforted Black Eagle and added some green fodder to the 2 horses, and then he pulled Luma out of the Heavenly Horse Field. Since October, Weisung has started cutting grass and making green fodder for winter. Although this year is the first year for the cultivation of Falfa spiritual herbs, in the entire Pingdingshan, there are 100 acres of Falfa spiritual herbs in the Lingtian. For the spread of Pingdingshan, the Falfala spiritual herbs harvested before winter are paired with ordinary pastures. The pasture reserves in Weisung are enough for more than 20,000 horses in Weisung to eat in a winter. Patriarch, are you going out again? Wufu Butler just came from Central Lake. He was going to the Heavenly Horse Farm to check the condition of the horses, cattle and sheep, and upgrade some strong horses by the way. This year, Wei Sung added 20,000 horses, and in the heavy snowfall, even though the slaves were personally selected by Huakai, most of them had never done horse raising, so he could watch more. If you can help, please help. This year, if they can't make it through, the entire Jielu city will suffer serious losses. Fortunately, our family has been stocking Falu spiritual herbs. There is no problem in dealing with such a snow disaster. Let us support everyone. Some green fodder will go out. Starting next year, I think selling green fodder in winter is a good business. Huakai said to the Wufu steward. There will be more and more spiritual herbs on Pingdingshan in the future, and spiritual herbs for horses and cattle and sheep are not only resistant to hunger, but also has the role of ascension qualification. Even if the price is more expensive, many people will try keep some reserves so that the quality of livestock in Takayanagi County can get ascension. After the beginning of the spring, I will continue to focus on the spread and cultivation of Falfa spiritual herbs, and then I will build a few more green fodder storage bases. Wufu said. Huakai leapt down from Pingding Mountain on Luma, and Luma fell on the snow, leaving only 4 shallow horseshoe prints. After Huakai finished his morning exercise with the cadets in the morning, he planned to go to the grasslands in Jielu County again. In the past few days, many herders were trapped due to heavy snow, and the snow was too thick. Many people's green fodder stored in winter was flooded. When I was free for a few days, I had to go out for a walk, and when he found that some herdsmen were trapped, he offered to help. Because he still had to teach the students at 5 in the afternoon, Huakai did not dare to delay a moment. He took out a drawing showing all the contracted pastures in Jielu County. Today he is going to look at these 23 pastoral areas along the southern area. The number of herders and slaves is about 3,000. After rushing to the East Pole for 2 hours, Huakai continued to inject true chi into Luma. Luma ran directly for more than 400 miles. After searching for a long time on the map, he began to release mental energy after determining the area. The energy fluctuations began to spread around the snow, and soon he opened his eyes. Through the snow, he used ice will to detect life fluctuations 10 miles southwest. Luma turned around and started to drive towards the target. Look at what it is. Someone is here. In a snowdrift, more than 30 people and more than 100 slaves are handling the snow. Their camp is only more than 20 acres in size, but the camp is crowded with 20 people. There are many tents, more than 50 horses, 200 cows, and more than 500 sheep. They can only be bigger if they clean up more snow. Everyone is sweating heavily in this cold weather, but they dare not stop, because they know that the smaller space is more terrifying than the fact that some of their green fodder storage warehouses are being used. Buried, this year the snow-covered cattle and sheep cannot even eat hay in the grassland. It seems to be Patriarch Hua. It is Patriarch Hua really. Patriarch Hua is here to save us. A herdsman said happily when he saw Huakai. Huakai saw a vast expanse of white land in the distance. When he arrived at a distance of 100 meters from the destination, he discovered the other party's camp and heard someone shouting in front of him. Are you from the Jing family? Huakai shouted outside their camp. President Hua, I am the person in charge of the Jingjia grazing team. Our green fodder storage room is covered with snow. I don't know when it will be dug out. The livestock has not eaten the green fodder for 3 days, and the hay roots under our feet have almost been gnawed away. Can you tell my family to let the family find a way? We can't go back to such a thick snow. The person in charge of Jingjia Ranch said to Huakai. I'm here to look for you specifically to see if you have any difficulties. This is the green fodder made by Chinese spiritual herbs. A steed can be filled with only 2 caddies a day, and it also has the function of ascension livestock qualifications. This 1,000 kilograms of feed can support you for a month, and I will come again in a month. I will bring your news back to Jielu City. You must keep these dry wood and save some use. Huakai threw out a bundle of compressed grass fodder less than 3 feet long, wide and high, regardless of its small size and weight, enough for the survival of all the livestock on this ranch. Huakai threw down his things and left, leaving the Jing family leaders and slaves in the camp silent. At the most critical moment, the Hua family's owner saved themselves. With these green fodder and hay, they will have it. Confidence persisted. People are gone, I'll come and move the green fodder back. Moved into my tent, no one can approach the fodder at will. Save the dry wood for me. If you can't order it, you all go and eat raw meat one by one. The person in charge of the Jing family is the only aerodynamic state in the grazing team, and he shouted at everyone. There is no talk of Huakai and the Hua family, but everyone has begun to bury a seed in their hearts at this moment. Huakai made them feel the responsibility of a sect leader family to the affiliated family. Huakai left the Jingjia ranch and continued eastward along the map. The 23 ranch allowed him to find 21 campsites. The remaining 2 campsites did not know whether the grazing team moved away or was buried under the snow, waiting for the last ranch. After walking, the time has come to more than 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It was almost 5 o'clock in Huacheng. Huakai came to the military academy. From a distance, I saw the soldiers of the Azure Dragon Legion sitting in a spacious shed waiting. Each of them looked solemn and entered the Hua's military academy who didn't come here to listen to Huakai's class. Huakai is already familiar with what he is talking about. In many places, he can cite a lot of examples to make the students hear more clearly and clearly. Moreover, based on the students' perceptions and the most breakthrough points of thought for such a long time, Huakai has expanded the previous books many times. Now he uses a few sentences and stories suitable for perception for everyone to taste every day. There are surprises. Coming out of the sitting room, Huakai couldn't hide a smile on his face. It has only been 2 years. The high-level elixir in his space has been used almost, the elixir can't be refined in a single furnace, and the medicine pill material is almost consumed. Only the ordinary fan pill has more than that, Shui Chen has been in addition. Therefore, Huakai has seldom rewarded people with spirit pills. Today, one person not only comprehended the will of water alone, but was also promoted to Shantian, which made him a squadron leader into one of the core combat forces of the Legion. In the evening, Huakai entered the family secret realm space. Shui Chen was on duty in the space tonight. Huakai told him about the birth of the 13th Shantian realm in the family. Shui Chen was also very happy. Patriarch, there has been heavy snow on the grassland for nearly 10 days now. This snow disaster may damage the entire grassland more than the last wolf disaster. Patriarch Tifa came to our stronghold these days and saw that our horses, cattle and sheep were all right. Asked about my feed, and then wanted to buy a batch from us. Shui Chen said to Huakai. There are millions of cattle and sheep in the Ordos tribe, and the losses this year are bound to be heavy. From the perspective of our relationship, there is no problem with proper help, but we only have more than 1,000 green fodder stored. It is enough to save our affiliated families, but we don't have the strength to save millions of livestock in the Ordos tribe, Huakai said, shaking his head. The production methods and materials of Wahia green fodder are unique to the family, and they are also the key to Wahia's future development of animal husbandry. Huakai didn't want to let too many people know the secrets of the Hua family. After all, the green fodder might not be able to keep the secrets when it reaches the grassland. One side of green fodder is about 3,000 kilograms in length, width and height of 3 feet 3, and a total of more than 1,000 square meters is about 15,000 stones. This is the result of the hard work of tens of thousands of people in Weisung. Wahia Shenzhou and BMW have a large number of green fodder, so they need a large amount of green fodder. Patriarch, I think we still have to save the Ordos tribe. If they don't help, their livestock loss this year may be more than half. By that time, the strength of the Ordos tribe will definitely be damaged, which is not good for us. Shui Chen said. I don't want to be known about green feed too early, so that Weisung can hide for some time. We need to know that although our current strength looks pretty good, we still don't have the power to protect ourselves without the foundation building. Yes, Huakai still shook his head. Actually, Patriarch, this matter is very easy to solve. Let's quietly trade with Patriarch Tifa, let him act in a low-key manner. Don't reveal that these green fodder is related to us. The other party must agree. If the Ordos tribe can save most of the snow disaster livestock, then they will have more and more influence on the southern part of the Huns. This is also a good thing for our Chinese family. Shui Chen said to Huakai. 57%. Chapter 320. Shui Chen believes that the Ordos tribe must be rescued. As the best ally of the Hua family, Huakai thought about it. If the Hua family worked harder to supplement the cattle and sheep with more hay, they could save a lot of green fodder for the Ordos tribe to save their lives. We can't give too much to the other party at one time. First, give the chief Tifa 50 cubic meters, 150,000 jin, of green fodder. This can be an emergency. If the Ordos tribe stores insufficient winter fodder after a year, we will give him another 50 cubic meters. Huakai thought said next. At this time Erzhuang happened to also come in. He heard Huakai and Shui Chen talking about helping the Ordos tribe survive the snow disaster, and told them that the snow disaster in the Ujumchin tribe was worse than the Ordos tribe, and a large number of cattle and sheep had frozen to death. Patriarch, I think we should ignore the snow disaster in the Ujumukan tribe. Their cattle and sheep have been frozen to death. Next year, they will not be able to continue their offensive against the Xiaoyu kingdom. We will exchange all their frozen livestock at low prices. Liucheng. Zhuang didn't have a good impression of Chief Ujumukan. Whether or not, it is the question of how much help. Ujumukan tribe we can ignore, but Princess Urantuya cannot help but, she also has a lot of trustees in her hands, we have to help Princess Urantuya stabilize her hands. Strength is good. Shui Chen had different opinions of his own. Huakai thought about the snow disaster. No matter how different the opinions of the Ujumchin tribe and the Hua family were, the two sides were all ally, and the Hua family could not die. Shui Chen, you will hand over 50 cubic meters of green fodder to Patriarch Tifa tomorrow, and then lend them a sacred horse for you to use, and I will return them a sacred horse in the future. You send 50 squares of green fodder to the Ujumchin tribe and give it to Zhuang. Zhuang will contact Warentuya. If she needs it, we will give her a part. We also need to feed our own horses, cattle and sheep. Hua Kai said to Shui Chen. Shenjual recognized the master, and it is estimated that only the Hua family in this world can say to borrow a Shenju. Patriarch Tifa will definitely not give all the horses to his subordinates. Shui Chen can go anywhere even with the thick snow in winter with the horses. A snow disaster made Huakai aware of the importance of falfa spiritual herbs. Falfa spiritual herbs, the green fodder fermented with grass, grain powder and other configurations can be stored underground at most. Although there is less snow, the weather is still in the cold, some sheep have been frozen to death in Weisung City. You can imagine other parts of the grassland. Since the breakthrough of the family mentality, the family luck value has recovered more than 4,000 ascension speed every day. The Chinese family has become stronger and stronger. The higher the family's comprehensive strength, the faster the family luck value will increase. In the past few days, after deploying Tier 6 weapons to all the aerodynamic states of Zhochen in Huacheng, Beishan, and Leopard Yuguan, Huakai has accumulated 500 sets of golden silk soft armor, and now his luck is as good as more and more. The family secret realm trial and refining medicine pill simply cannot use so much luck. Upgrading the family's martial skill and mind skills to intermediate level is meaningless for the current Hua family. Upgrading to the sky level is the foundation building realm. There is no foundation building realm in the Hua family. Seeing that the family luck value has reached nearly 100,000 points, and now that the family luck value can only increase by more than 2,000 points every day, Hua Kai feels a little pity that there is no way to use the family luck value. At this time, Shui Pan just entered the family secret realm space. This year, he and his fifth uncle Hua Zichen were in Beishan to help his second uncle Hua Zi build and rectify the cottages in Beishan. When the spring next year starts, he will have to return to the Azure Dragon Core. Patriarch, I have something to tell you. Shui Pan said with some embarrassment when he saw Hua Kai. What can you say? Hua Kai said. Due to the heavy snow, many cottages in Beishan cannot go hunting this year. Now all cottages in Beishan are basically short of food, and some cottages have even run out of food for many days. How can we solve this problem? Shui Pan said sadly. The entire Beishan population is more than 200,000, which is more than the entire Jialiu County. The food in Jialiu City can only barely be used for its own use. Moreover, this year's heavy snow, livestock and horses consume more food, and the Hua family is completely unable to solve the food crisis in Beishan. We can't ignore this Beishan matter. They will be part of our Jialiu County from now on. Have you ever asked my third uncle? Hua Kai asked. The third uncle Hua Ziji has been collecting grain in Wahiapu. In the past few years, the weather has been smooth throughout the central plains. Wahiapu should have a lot of grain reserves. Sanyi had already sent 100,000 shi of grain to Jialiu City before the winter, and now Wahiapu has not much grain. Shui Pan said in a low voice. Now the entire grassland is covered by heavy snow. Snow disasters in the area north of the Kinling Mountains will be severe. This year a large number of livestock will inevitably freeze to death. Next year, the price of grain in the grassland will soar. The price of livestock in the world will surely rise in the next 3 years. Huakai thinks Jialiu County should be able to do so. Do something. Now there are more than 2 months before the spring. These 2 months are the most difficult. Without a large amount of food, Beishan will lose a lot of population, and it will not be conducive to our future management. I will go to Jialiucheng tomorrow and transfer to Beishan first. Wanshi grain. These are almost enough for more than 200,000 people in Beishan. I plan to go to the southern country as soon as possible to see if I can buy grain. Nangguo, Chu country, Shui Pan asked in surprise. I plan to go to Wu and Yu countries, where there is no snow all year round, and there is no less food than the two countries. In recent years, the world has been peaceful, and they should have a lot of food. There is a lot of food in the south, and the biggest problem is transportation. We can buy food and even grass in Wu, Yu and other countries, and come back through spatial teleportation, without having to think about transportation. As long as we can have a good talk with the two royal houses, food and green fodder will not be a problem at all. Hua Kai said. The solution is good, but the southern country is too far away from us to cross too many mountains and rivers. How many people do we need to send? Shui Pan thought about it and thought Huakai's solution was feasible. If you want to buy grass to make green fodder, it will be impossible for few people to go, so you have to ride a horse in the Shantian realm. Uncle Wu needs to transfer food and other materials with me through the family secret realm space. I can go, this time we are acting quietly, and we can't let other forces notice it. It's best to say nothing but our own relatives. Hua Kai said. Hua Kai now has a large number of basic elixir in the space, but the number of elixir above the 4th rank is about to run out. The number of people in the Hua family practicing Qi realm is increasing, and there are fewer and fewer strange stones in his space. Taking advantage of the family's Qi luck value, there are not many places for him. He can go to the southern countries to find high-end strange stones and experience, so that the family's high-end combat power will be more and more. Azure Dragon Legion has no war now. Donghu can no longer attack us at this time. All Shantian realms can be tuned. Shui Pan said. If you can buy a lot of food and collect a lot of grass during this trip to the south, then the Hua family can definitely increase their strength due to the snow disaster. That's okay. Except for my grandfather, Shu Hua and Wu Shu, all the other Shantian realms can go to the south with us. This time we will not only buy grain, but also build a few more green fodder fermentation bases in the south to help us. Affiliated families and allies have all survived the snow disaster. When next spring begins, the number of grassland livestock will decrease, and the price of slaves will inevitably decrease. At that time, we can usher in a period of rapid development in Jialiu County. Huakai decided. With the addition of the two Shantians from the Hua family military academy, this more than 1 month breakthrough, the number of the entire Hua family's Shantian realm has reached 15 people, and the family combat power has exceeded 30,000, of which 5,000 are Hua Kai ice will increased by entering the 3rd floor. And after Huakai broke through the 2 BMWs brought back from the grassland this year, the family horse has reached 12 horses. If the 5th uncle does not go, Huakai alone owns 2 horses. In other words, this time except for the Huakai family you can also go to 10 Shantian realms. The 2 horses of Weisung were quickly assigned, and the entire Shantian realm of the Hua family could quickly assemble in the direction of Weisung. On December 26th, Hua Kai took Yu Jun, Shui Pan, Tang Lei, 10 Shantian people including Hua Peng jumped down from a height of 300 meters from Pingding Mountain and rushed to the south. Going to Wuyu this time is much easier than going to Bashu. Bashu is now in a poor uprising, and you may not be able to buy food if you go there. There are no huge mountains from Huacheng all the way south, and those big rivers are not a problem in the eyes of the Chinese people. In the evening of the first day, everyone came to Jinan Guju County, a subordinate of Qi State, to rest. When the Hua family of this county was in Guangxian, Huakai led the family to go for business. With tens of thousands of wild beasts outside the county surrounding the city, soldiers are constantly walking around on the wall. It seems that the county is under pressure this year. The Hua family quickly rushed past the desolate beast group, and all the desolate beasts died. They came outside the city gate without waiting for the others' reaction, and 11 people jumped onto the county wall. Please, I would like to ask you all. Seeing everyone from the Hua family easily ascend the 8-meter-high city wall, a leader-like person was a little uncomfortable to speak. Passing by the county, come in and rest for 1 night, you don't care about us, and guard your city. Tang Lei rode Sweat BMW to the other side. His body shape can give people endless pressure. The highest person in the county was also the head of the 7th rank family. When did he see so many Shantian states? The person in charge watched the Hua family and others leave, and hurried to report to the county magistrate's office. It has reached the roots of the year, and the streets of this county still seem very depressed. Huakai can see that the shops on both sides of the street have closed. Many places seem to be quiet. Obviously not many people live here. Since the family of all counties and families in Qi State moved into Lindsay City, many people from the 5 counties and 6 countries have moved into the core area of Qi State. The population of all counties in Qi State has begun to decrease sharply. Alas, not that all families are like Chinese families. Kind, Yu Jun said when he came to Wakai's side. The family left and lost its high-end combat power. This county is attacked by wild beasts every year, and the defensive pressure will inevitably increase. If more people die, more people will want to escape, which makes the county look like it is today. Which makes the county look like it is today. Which makes the county look like it is today.